Namaskar and welcome to NFL Masala. I'm your co-host Anant.
And I am your other co-host, Rakshak, from Frisco, Texas.
Let's go,
Welcome
let's go.
Season 3, Episode 21 of NFL Masala, where we talk about all the latest happenings in the NFL with a little bit of spice.
So today, we're going to be breaking down halfway through the actual NFL regular season. Can you believe it, Rakshak? We're halfway through the NFL season already.
We are halfway there.
If it feels so sad because it feels like just yesterday it was beginning of the season. There was hope for Bryce Young, hope for Anthony Richardson, that they're not just going to be busts and they're going to be turned into cannon fodder. That is the pipeline of young NFL QBs. But yeah, no, I mean, we're halfway through the season, so we're going to be recapping what happened in week 8, previewing week 9, and doing the quarterly business review of the NFL every 4 weeks. This is a new segment that we're going to be bringing on, where every 4 weeks we're going to be doing an analysis of what the 5 best and 5 worst teams are according to us. So,
and before we get started, I would like to wish you, Anand, and your family, and to everyone of the NFL Masala family, a very, very happy Diwali.
Yes, sir. You too as well, and happy Diwalaween. There we go. Because we got Diwali and Halloween happening at the same exact time here in the United States. So let's go.
Yep, lead the way.
Alrighty. So first bit of news. Speaking of Bryce Young and Anthony Richardson, we already know the situation of Bryce Young. But now, based on what happened in this previous week, Anthony Richardson has been benched officially, and they are now turning to Joe Flacco for foreseeably the rest of the season, is what Shane Steichen has said. He has said that the door is not closed for Anthony Richardson. They're not giving up on him, but for the rest of the season, it will be Joe Flacco. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I mean, first of all, it's very disappointing, and we definitely need, and I think we'll address this more in the Punch Minute recap, but I'll say this. I don't want to spoil it, though, but it's like, because I have a lot to say, and I think you may have hear a Ruksha correct.
Mm-hmm.
Of the freaking Colts, man.
Please do.
No, I think we'll talk about this in the Punch Minute segment at the end, because I think, like, I mean, it goes out to all rookies, man, and it's disappointing. That's all I can say.
Okay, sure. All right. So coaches apparently met on Tuesday morning, and they decided to change quarterbacks. And this was October 29th. So this is about 2-3 days ago. And apparently this has everything to do with his comment where he basically said after the post-game press conference that, he being Anthony Richardson said, I ain't gonna lie, I was tired, so I took a playoff. Now, that became very, very controversial amongst the talking heads of the NFL and amongst the fans on Twitter, because, football people were saying, hey, everybody gets tired in the NFL. Everybody plays through injuries. You can't just tap yourself out for one play because, you're tired. What about the offensive linemen who are blocking for you? What about, who are getting their heads bashed in every single play? What about the wide receivers who have to run like a 90-yard sprint only for you to overthrow them by 5 yards? And it just becomes empty cardio calories for them. Like, that is one viewpoint that people have been talking about. And the other viewpoint that people have been talking about is that, like, even if he is tired, just lie. You don't have to tell the truth to the reporters. What are they going to do? Investigate you? Probably not for that, quote unquote, innocuous of a statement. So it just seems like a very immature thing to say. But here's the other thing.
Yeah.
He's only played like a quarter of a season in his entire college and pro football career. That's the problem. This kid is what, 20 years old, I think, 20 or 21 years old.
Yeah. And we
So
were supposed to put him like as the next better than Jalen Hurts or Donovan McNabb when we did our draft preview of him like a year ago. And the fact that he has fallen down, man. You know what? Screw it. We're about to have a Ruckchuck right now, so be prepared.
mhm.
I mean, I'm just completely disappointed at the way things have turned out for him. I mean, we all want rookie quarterbacks and rookie players that have been drafted by respective teams to play well. Because sometimes they can make the game fun or they can change it and snap of a finger. But when you're seeing guys, they're saying, oh, I'm going to tap out. Are you kidding me?
Mm.
Are you freaking fracking kidding me? It makes no sense whatsoever. It blows my mind to even hear that.
Yeah.
Hell, you know what? There could be like hell. I mean, hell, Colin Kaepernick. I'm going to say a controversial statement. Hell, Colin Kaepernick is waiting for a job, man. And if he could, and he's like, hey, put me in. He could, and if he shows out, Anthony Richardson, what the hell are you doing,
Bro,
man?
Colin Kaepernick is not going to be better than Anthony Richardson.
No, but but at least he has a better mentality of playing. Other than Anthony Richardson, we don't want to give him the B word. We don't want to label him as a bust, which is why, because of his attitude alone, I know he could develop better. I know Shane Steichen's working with him on that, but to say that, it's just really, really upsetting. And and you're letting Joe Flacco take over your job. Hell, I don't think you know what? I gotta beat the dome moment. I think Joe Flacco is going to he's going to remain as a starting QB for the Colts, and the Colts are going to extend him for another year or two. Because with the way if Anthony Richardson does not get his shit together, if he does not like act up or he doesn't show like, oh, I can develop from there, I can grow and move on.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yes, he has that cannon arm. He's better than Jalen Hurts, but he doesn't have Hurts' mentality. That is what makes it different, man. He doesn't have it.
Yeah, he doesn't have the mentality of a lot of other QBs. I mean, he doesn't even have, like, you look at, he doesn't even have the mentality of Bryce Young. He definitely has a higher talent than Bryce Young, but at least Bryce Young doesn't quit. Like, he's just not in a good situation, but at least he doesn't quit. So I do get that point. But I think this is a deeper issue amongst other quarterbacks. And this statement rings true from Kevin O'Connell. And that is, it's I don't know the exact quote, but it's something similar to, it's often the case that young quarterbacks don't fail organizations, but organizations fail young quarterbacks. Or like young quarterbacks don't fail before organizations do, but organizations do before young quarterbacks do. So I think it's an indication of QBs not being prepared for the NFL experience. But this is what practice and this is what preseason is. And this is on the Colts coaching staff, because what happened after this statement is in the next couple of days, we're recording, by the way, on November 1st. So in the next couple of days after this came out, a lot of players, except for a couple of offensive linemen, have been, supportive of of Anthony Richardson, and it seems like there's conflicting reports on what the players want, versus what the coaches want. So I don't know. It's just it's like if you're going to lose the locker room, then yeah, it does make sense to get on the winning ways because winning cures everything. But you have to look at this from an organizational perspective. If you knew that Anthony Richardson, like, you should have known first when you drafted him that he was going to be a project quarterback. You still drafted him at number 4, which means you should have known, like, his unlike Bryce Young, his issues didn't show up once he joined the NFL field. It was there during college. Yeah. I don't know if you remember his Florida games, but he was.
Oh man, it was basically If you had like, if you know like how you see like those lie detector tests, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
the polygraph
Polygraph,
test.
yeah.
Sometimes they'll go like up down up down up down up down. Like it'll just shatter when they detect like a lie or something like that. But it's let me just move on from this because this guy already
Yeah,
giving
let,
me a
let, let
mic.
me let me just let
No,
me
no,
just
this is
finish
fine.
this
But it's
point.
not, I just feel like Anthony
Yeah.
Richardson. All I can say is get your shit together.
Okay. Now, let me say this. What I was
Okay.
going to say is that he was a very inconsistent quarterback, like you mentioned,
Yeah.
polygraph test. Inconsistent quarterback in college. He showed off his dazzling talent at the combine, and that's what got him drafted at number 4, even though a lot of experts didn't really agree with that pick. So the Colts should have known that this was a quarterback who had to basically learn fundamentals, uh, fundamentals of being a quarterback, right? Because he has raw talent, but he needs to be molded. And it seems like they went in with plan A, but didn't have a plan B. Like last year should have been plan A, but he got injured. So they really couldn't do much. But during the
Right.
summer, I believe he was healthy enough to at least, practice. And that is where they should have gotten with a plan on how to analyze his mistakes and how to try and figure it out. Right. But even then, they had preseason games for him to be tested.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't successful in the preseason games, what makes you think he was going to be a lot more successful in the NFL, like actual regular season games when he plays against full scale NFL caliber defenses?
I
You
don't
should
know.
have, I feel like they should have benched Anthony Richardson from the beginning of the year, started Joe Flacco, see how the team was going to be, and if it was, at this stage, if the Colts were like 5-2 or 5-3 or something of that nature, which I think they are. I think they're like 4-4, 5-3. But if they had stability at the quarterback position and they weren't so wishy washy, then I think the scenario would have been a lot different because I feel like, and I don't want to just finish off at this point before we move forward. I feel like people try and find the exceptions to the rules. You look at Tom Brady and
Mm-hmm.
Josh Allen. I think those are the two exceptions to the rule. Tom Brady, you look at Tom Brady came into a situation as a aging veteran quarterback, right?
Yep.
So that's one pathway that organizations are trying to reframe their franchises with. Aging, Hall of Famer veteran quarterback. The most recent franchises that have done that, Rams with Stafford, that has gone well, but that was because they had, a perfect team for that year.
Right.
Um, Tampa Brady, and we all know
Mm-hmm.
how that went. Perfect team again. Kirk Cousins with the Atlanta Falcons, we've yet to see.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, right? So those are the four. Well, other than like Russell
Yeah.
Wilson, but that was also a colossal failure in Denver as well. So
Mm-hmm.
you look at these teams. Why was Matt Stafford and Tom Brady so successful? Tom Brady landed in a situation with the best offensive line in the league at that point and a top 5 defense. So all Tom Brady had to do was minimize mistakes. He didn't even have to be excellent. He just had to minimize his mistakes. Now, fortunately for him, he was excellent and they won the Super Bowl that way.
Yep.
Matt Stafford, he didn't have to be excellent. And the year that they won the Super Bowl, he wasn't. He was like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but he wasn't even, he didn't even receive an MVP vote. So it's not like he was the best quarterback there, but he had the best offensive minded head coach in Sean McVay at that time. So that's why they won. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, they have failed. I'll say that. I'll get into that a little bit. Kirk Cousins, we have to yet to see. So that's one pathway. Second pathway is the Josh Allen experiment, and that is find an extremely raw, talented guy, play
Mm-hmm.
him in the first season, see and fix him. Right. That's what they're trying to do with Anthony Richardson. But more often than not, players like him end up like Jamarcus Russell and not Josh Allen, because it is so hard to fix raw talented guys and mold them into a star quarterback. Zach Wilson failed, right?
Yep.
Uh, Anthony Richardson looks to be like a failure, right? You look at many of the quarterbacks of the Trevor Lawrence draft,
The
almost
2021
failure.
class
Yeah,
has been
right.
dismal.
But everybody's trying to find the exception and not doing what works, and that is looking at the Chiefs, looking at the Packers. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes, otherworldly talent. Jordan Love, really talented, right?
Hmm.
I would also put the Eagles in there as well, by drafting and developing a QB before they're ready to play. And
Yeah,
that is the model that has worked.
right.
So organizations need to do a better job of developing their systems before they draft a young quarterback. And that's just my 2 cents. Anyways, let's move forward.
More like $2,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's all good. Yeah.
I just had to say that before, you know, anyways, whatever.
It makes sense. No, I can definitely see where why it makes sense. I mean, after all, we always preach the mantra: build through the trenches. If you're not doing that, you are subjecting your team to utter failure.
Yeah, and if you look at Anthony Richardson's game, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit in the Punch Minute recap, his offensive line was not doing a good job. It's one of the worst offensive lines in terms of pass blocking this year.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I see an AFC South team that has similar offensive line issues. We'll
Yeah.
talk about that sooner. Yeah, and we'll talk about that sooner. But with that being said, the next bit of news is regarding Anand's favorite team, the Purple Incarnations of Naraka. I'm joking, the Minnesota Vikings.
Shaitan.
Um,
They are
acco-
the
co-
shaitan.
so according to Kevin Seifried of ESPN, this was on October 29th. The Vikings traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars for left tackle Cam Robinson. Basically, you're replacing an injured Christian Darrisaw. And
Yeah, I
this is,
think he's out for the season now.
yeah, after suffering that apparently it was a torn ACL and MCL in his left knee, so he's out. And he signed a 4-year contract extension in August. So, but
Yeah.
in addition with Cam Robinson, the Vikings will receive a conditional 2026 seventh round pick that can go away based on playing time, while the Jags will receive a conditional 2026 fifth round selection that can become a fourth based on playing time. And Robinson, he's in his final year of a contract that pays him $16.25 million this season. The Jags will be paying a portion of Robinson's salary. So, I mean, it's short term, but at least it's better than David Quisenberry, who was atrocious.
Yeah.
And I think it definitely, and I don't know why the Jags would do this, but Cam Robinson does have some good pass blocking rate. He had like 81.7%, played 9 games in 2023, missing 4 while suspended for PEDs, and the other 4 with a knee injury. So basically, it's just going to be something to keep an eye out for. But I think this is something that the Vikings definitely needed. It makes sense. I don't know why I think the Jags are in a fire sale mode because what the hell is going on? Shad Khan, you don't need to pay attention to your son's thing with AEW, which is apparently failing against WWE compared to what the hell is going on over there. Help fix your team. You became a president for some reason. Help them. And Trent Baalke needs to go. And we'll talk about that more.
Yeah. Alrighty. Next, Jameson Williams, the wide receiver for the Detroit Lions, is again having some off the field issues. He is now there's a warrant out for the arrest of him on a concealed weapons charge when he was stopped recently on October 8th. And this investigation, the Detroit Police Department has said, continues to evolve, and new information has come to light that we are actively addressing. Yeah.
Touch it on news. Touch.
Basically, yeah. There was like this video out. I don't know if this was
I don't.
legitimate or not. Yeah.
I don't even want to know, man.
No,
Cause
yeah. I mean, there was a video out that was basically uh that that was saying, that had Jameson Williams saying, I'm a Detroit Lions. You know that I play for the Detroit Lions, while still being stopped, and the officers were very, unlike police officers. They were very respectful of the stop, but still pretty, forceful. So, jeez,
if you
man.
want to take a screenshot of the face right now, this is it.
Yeah. And he
We
basically
want
said,
good things. Don't
he,
give
he
us.
yeah, he basically said, I live in Detroit, man. What do you expect? With respect to the gun that he had. That's so dumb, man.
Jameson Williams, if you're listening to this, you have officially won my favorite award,
Mm,
Dumbass of the Month.
Yep.
All right. Last but not least of the Damakidar segment, Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson has another weapon. Same day with the Cam Robinson trade. The Carolina Panthers are in official sale mode, and they have agreed in principle with a trade with the Ravens for wide receiver Deontay Johnson, pending a physical. Basically, the contents are this. The Ravens will send a 5th-round pick to the Panthers, and Panthers will be giving Deontay Johnson and a 6th-round selection. And I mean, it's the second time he's been traded. I mean, funny thing is, Deontay Johnson started with the Steelers, the Ravens' rivals in the North, and he became the 3rd wide receiver since 2000 to catch a pass as a Raven and a Steeler, joining Mike Wallace and Miles Boykin. By the way,
Mm.
he was. And he said that he indicated to ESPN that he'd like to re-sign with the Panthers 1-7, but he was definitely frustrated with the way things were losing. He didn't play in Carolina's 28-14 loss, but I think this is a good move for the Baltimore Ravens because they need wide receivers that can actually catch a ball. Aguilar can't be catching everything.
Hmm.
That's saying a lot, knowing my history with Nelson effing Aguilar, ex-Eagle great.
Yeah.
And the meme, I was catching babies, unlike Aguilar. But yeah, he gets to be paired with Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman. Spread out offenses. Maybe Todd Mudd can use him a little bit more and integrate him. But this is a Ravens. This is coming from a very surprising loss, which we'll talk about soon. So I'm gonna keep it a little bit on why they. But like I say, they need to make this trade. It's not like how do you say, like super fancy or this is really
Hmm.
scary. Ooh,
Mm-mm.
it's nothing like that. It's just like, okay, yeah, it's basically another wide receiver to help Lamar Jackson and
Yeah.
whatnot. So,
Yeah. Alrighty, let's move on. Let's talk about the actual games that happened during week 8. Starting
oh
with
baby,
those Packers, man. Those Packers. We win versus the Jags 30-27 in Jacksonville. But it was way too close for comfort. Every year, this type of game has happened under Matt LaFleur. Okay, it should be an easy win, but it's a trap game, and we barely win or we just lose outright. 2023, the Tommy DeVito Giants game where we
oh
lost.
yeah,
2022, Taylor Heineke and the Carson Wentz Commanders, we lost
yep,
in Green Bay, or no, sorry, in Washington. 2021, it was a Vikings loss who were 4-5 at the time, but it was a divisional game, so I'll chalk that up as an exception. 2020 barely beat the 1-7 Jaguars 24-20, again with the Jags. And 2019, the first year of Matt LaFleur, lost to the 3-5 Chargers 26-11 in Los Angeles. So
Mm.
it's always during the middle of the season. It's like week 7 through 11 where we just find some random loss on our calendar or random scrape win against a pathetic team that we should be drubbing like the Lions did to the Titans. Spoiler alert. Right? We should be doing that, but we don't. I don't know why. This is exactly like what happened in the 2020 game. Seemingly had a tough time breaking down and massacring the 32nd ranked Jags defense in terms of DVOA. They are
You mean
literally
complacency?
the worst defense in DVOA and one of the worst amongst other metrics. Defensively speaking, it was atrocious to watch this defense because while there were some good moments in the second half, they were especially significantly tired, probably because of the weather, 83 or 85 degrees, but like 50% humidity. So, unlike Green Bay, they weren't really acclimated to that. So I think that is why they were so winded in the second half. And you could clearly see that a lot of defensive mistakes were made by the Packers defense, which allowed the Jags to just continue running and running and running and running up the score. They got 10 points in the first half, the Jags, and 17 points in the second half. That's the largest amount that Jeff Hafley's defense has given in the second half of any game. The previous highest was 6. 6!
That's just insane, man.
300 yards of passing allowed, 91 rushing yards, a total of like 485 total yards of offense allowed by the Packers defense, and very little pass rush. 1 sack, 15% pressure rate on one of the
Wait,
worst
pause.
pass block.
Did you say 1 sack?
1 sack, 15% pressure rate on one of the worst pass blocking offensive lines in the league. And the kicker is our very expensive D-line has, guess what? Underwhelmed. Another underwhelming performance. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, and Kingsley Enikbar accounted for a total of 6 pressures. 4 players, 6 pressures, 3 of those pressures belonging to Rashawn Gary. That's not going to cut it, man, against
I'm just shocked.
good teams. That's
I'm
not going to
shocked.
cut it. And even worse than the pass rush. At least the pass rush has had this inconsistency in generating a pass rush throughout the entire season. For some reason, we're still like top 10 in pressure rate in the entire league at forcing pressure rate, but like bottom 5 in blitz rate. So somehow our top 4 and our top 5 4-man rushes have gotten to the quarterback, but it's like it's very inconsistent. One day we'll be great against the quarterback, like the Texans and the Vikings and the and the Colts and the Titans, and then one game we'll have a game like this versus the Jags where we barely get any pressure, barely get any hits on the quarterback, only 1 sack. So there's just inconsistency, and that's the problem with the D-line that we have shelled out. Like, I think they're top 5 in terms of most paid to the defensive line, right? And even worse than the defensive line, at least we had a reliable secondary until today. The heat and humidity got to them.
Okay, but
yeah,
I do have a concern. No, I mean, like, side by side when I was watching my game and I was checking the score between the Packers and the Jags.
mm-hmm.
I know this will be like a question you're going to answer anyway, but I thought the Packers defense was pretty good and solid against the run game. I was under that impression ever since they made some kind of additions.
They were. So I'll get into this in a little bit. They only allowed 91 yards of rushing, which is not bad, but they were better in the first half. It was really in the second half when Doug Peterson actually got his brains together and used 3 of his brain cells instead of one of his brain cells, and decided to give the ball to Tank Bigsby. That's when they started being more effective, giving the ball to Tank Bigsby, having a short, quick, effective, rhythmic passing game. They were trying to target deep down the field, but they didn't really get it. It was really more like the intermediate throws that they were getting. And here's one of the reasons why. When we look at our secondary outside of Jair and Xavier McKinney, specifically on Eric Stokes and Keyshawn Nixon. Eric Stokes, who was our first round pick, who has been hampered with injuries for roughly half his career with Green Bay. And Keyshawn Nixon, who we signed to be our starting nickel corner and return specialist. He hasn't really gotten a chance to do that, but it's like a 3-year deal. On 6 targets, they allowed 5 completions, 71 yards, 1 touchdown, 4 first downs, 2 missed tackles, and 2 explosive throws. So 15-plus yard throws allowed, 155.6 passer rating. These 2 dudes on 6 targets. Okay. When you look at the other players, other defensive backs that we had, Javon Bullard, 4 completions on 5 targets. Keyshawn Nixon, 4 completions on 5 targets. Isaiah McDuffie, 3 completions on 4 targets. Even this is the worst part. Even Xavier McKinney, the best safety in the league, and surprise, surprise, he is also the NFC Defensive Player of the Month for the month of October. Xavier
Congratulations.
McKinney. He allowed 3 completions on 3 completions on 4 targets. The only other incompletion being an interception. That was because it was thrown directly to him. Good play by him, but it was thrown directly to him. 25 yards allowed per completion.
75 yards he allowed
per completion. 77.1 passer rating, and 46 of them being air yards. 30 yards after catch, a missed tackle. So it was really a surprisingly shocking defensive performance by this Packers secondary. And one of the reasons why is because they got so tired. 18 missed tackles because they got so winded. 18 missed tackles by the entire defense, man, this game.
Why is this bringing me flashbacks with the Eagles early season?
With the Browns, right?
Oh my God!
That last game or the previous game where you barely beat the Browns, but your defense was,
I'm getting
for lack of a better word,
from watching that game.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, it's not all bad news. Edgerrin Cooper, best linebacker of the entire draft.
Correction.
And one of the best rookie linebackers in the league.
I'm giving him a nickname.
Who? What?
The Edge.
Yeah. The Edge.
Because he did set the edge.
Oh, my God. Dude, run stop on a 3rd down, which forced a punt. Tackle covering kickoff. Run stop on a 3rd and short. Strip sack setting up the takeaway with a touchdown by the offensive side because it was we got set up at like the 7-yard line of the Jags. And then probably the best example of a pass coverage linebacker rep, right? So I don't have the exact video, but I remember it because it was so freaking insane. Something Bobby Wagner or Luke Kuechly would do. Dude, this guy's insane.
Luke Kuechly! Ladies and gentlemen, Luke Kuechly, if we're talking Luke Kuechly, you gotta listen to this.
Something they would do, okay? Edgerrin Cooper is the middle linebacker in this play, I believe.
Yeah.
And he's faking a blitz in the A gap. So basically the center and the guard, right? He's faking a blitz in the A gap, and then he peels off, runs 30 yards down the field against Christian Kirk, who's not a slow receiver, who's not a tight end, in the slot. Christian Kirk is running like a sluggo route, I believe, or just a go route. And Edgerrin Cooper tracks him down. Trevor Lawrence throws the ball against Christian Kirk. He's wide open, but Edgerrin Cooper has the speed as a linebacker to chase him down 30 yards, keep attention to where the ball is, and make the PBU. Unbelievable on 3rd and long. Just unbelievable performance by Adrian Cooper. That's why he was, I think, that's why he was the NFC Defensive Player of the Week. Not even rookie, Player of the Week. Okay.
And Howie Roseman, if you're watching and listening to this is why I stress you draft linebackers, you moron. I mean,
Hey, you guys have a good set of linebackers in Zach Baum and
which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, just watch. I mean, like, when I watch Adrian Cooper, I'm gonna call him the Edge. When I watch the Edge Cooper's play, when he was with the give the thumbs down, man, with the freaking Aggies, he was everywhere on the field. He was literally, I mean, he was like what the nation's had the nation's top award for like the best linebacker. Yeah. I don't want to go into full details of it, but we had him as the number one over guys like Peyton Wilson, hell, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., who's more of a defensive end / linebacker, but I mean, y'all get the point. But Adrian Cooper, you know what? I'm gonna say this. I think if he continues the way to play, I think next year he may give a battle for. I don't know if there's an NFL award for top linebacker, but I think he's gonna do it.
There isn't, but I think
there better damn well be one.
No, I don't think there will be, but he might be in the Pro Bowl or All Pro next year if he completes.
Pro Bowl, future Pro Bowler.
We'll see.
The future's bright for the Edge.
Yeah. And then other than Adrian Cooper, we had John Money, who had a really good game before he got injured. Sadly, 3 targets, 1 catch allowed, which was 2 yards, 1 forced incompletion, 1 pass breakup, 42.4 passer rating allowed. So
beautiful.
Really good. And then the thing that has been the most consistent thing for Jeff Hafley's defense the entire season, 3rd down defense was stout. 1 of 9 conversion rate for the Jags offense.
Oh, jeez.
1 of 9.
I wonder how.
11%. Dude, Jeff Hafley is a mastermind at shutting down offenses when they get to the 3rd down, right? And I'll explain this in a little bit. Now, offensively speaking, we started slow. Again, stop me if you've heard this, Rakshak. Slow offense in the first quarter. 0 points in the first quarter and only a 3-point lead at the end of half, right?
0 points in the first quarter.
0 points. 3 failed first quarter drives. Punt, interception. And this is the worst, okay? Somehow, the Packers are 26th in red zone scoring percentage on the entire season. And in the first half, this past game, and in the first half, 1 of 4 drives were scored in the red zone. That's it.
That's just insane.
Now, Jordan Love was good until he got injured again because of a groin injury this time. 14 of 22 for 198 yards, 0 touchdowns, 1 pick. The really important factor, another thing that has been consistent with us the entire season, which has been good, is our rushing game. Josh Jacobs, another solid performance. Another awesome performance, actually, not just solid. He's like the 3rd, probably the 4th best running back after Derrick Henry. 3rd best, I'll say. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, and Josh Jacobs. Those are our 3 best running backs in the entire league this year.
Yep.
But Josh Jacobs, 25 of 127 for 2 touchdowns, and 3.5 yards after the carry per attempt. 3.5 yards after contact. Sorry.
Okay.
3.5 yards after contact per attempt. That's how significant he's been. Chris Brooks had a pretty good game, 4 of 16. And then Malik Willis, 4 of 23. And the reason why Malik Willis had come in is because Jordan Love got injured and is week to week with a groin injury. So Malik Willis came to save the day.
Can I cue the music?
Go ahead.
He comes to save the day. Because Mr. Willis is on the way. Da, 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 da.
Malik Willis somehow had 6.45 total EPA. 0.45 EPA per play, which is the highest amongst the Packers and Jaguars, at 6.8 average depth of target. So he's basically throwing it little dinks and dunks. He was 4 of 5, but the biggest play of the game was a wide open play by Matt LaFleur. Great play call, but Matt LaFleur said this. It wasn't his play call. It was a can, which means it was Malik Willis checking the coverage, audibling to a different call, getting the second call basically, and throwing a perfect pass to a wide open Jaden Reed because of a leak wheel that Jaden Reed ran. Another beautiful, masterful play designed by Matt LaFleur. But yeah, Matt LaFleur described it in the press conference by saying that Malik Willis changed, or he called the second play by recognizing coverage. And this means that the Titans royally messed up. Royally messed up. Anyways, okay. Here's one thing that doesn't understand, or that I don't understand. Matt LaFleur's play calling with Malik Willis has such a massive emphasis on the running game versus Jordan Love. Why? I think it's because of Malik's rushing ability, whereas Love doesn't have any mobility. But when you look at the games that Malik Willis has played and the series that he's played, the emphasis is on a much more creative run game. And I feel like we need to bully Matt LaFleur into using that creative run game more, even with Jordan Love on the field. Keep Jordan Love away from throwing the football. Keep him healthy. He's injured. He has a knee injury and he has a groin injury. Keep him away from having to make difficult throws.
You know what? I got
why this isn't more consistent.
Right. I actually got an interesting take. I don't know if the Packers will try and use it. If Jordan Love is healthy, and if you want to get more creative with the play, I got the W word. Wildcat, baby.
Yeah.
They could run Wildcat formation. Like
with Malik Willis, yeah.
I mean, that's what the Eagles tried to do in the 2020 season with Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, when I thought like getting Jalen Hurts in the second round was a horrible pick when you had so many others to go with. But
yeah.
And then we all know how the story went. But I think like maybe if the Packers wanted to get more creative, again, like Wildcat formation, set him up on a motion route, and hell, design a flea flicker or hell, QB sneak it or whatnot. I mean, there's stupid amount of things that you could do, but just my cup of chai to go with it.
Yeah. All right, that's it for me.
All right. With that being said, to be honest, bro, I did not see this win. I did not see this game coming through. Eagles versus the Bengals. If you heard me say that the Eagles were going to win this game 37-17, you would have thought I was lying through my face, lying through my teeth. I'm like, do my eyes deceive me? Look at it. Do you see my eyes? Did I see the Eagles play a complete game on offense? And defense against Joe Burrow and an okay Bengals, or should we go back to the Bungles?
They should be the Bungles. They're
the Bungles defense. Pardon my French, or pardon my Tomo. You bet your ass I did. And man, flashes of 2022 Jalen Hurts. He had a decent good game. Another game with no turnovers. If I made a checklist, it would be like this: A, are you able to run the ball? Check. B, are you able to get through your progressions and throw the ball quickly? Check. Are you able to avoid negative plays, like turnovers, sacks, and trying to make it positive. Check. Literally. And I mean, I thought I saw the old 2022 Jalen Hurts. And when I heard through a press conference, the Eagles offensive players went to Nick and Kellen Moore saying, hey, we got to change it up. And they did that. They listened. And I mean, I saw using your tight ends, especially on National Tight End Day, running when you need to, design runs, baby. Hell of a job, Kellen Moore. And final stats. It doesn't say that much, but 16 for 20, 236 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions, 132.5 passer rating. And of course, he had 10 rushes, 37 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 of them via the brotherly shove. I mean, it's inevitable. It's Thanos, baby. You can't stop it. The Packers couldn't do shit against them. I'm joking. I'm joking, man. But, I mean, third game in a row for Hurts, not turning over the ball. And I was very shocked that, like, the run was a little bit shaky with Saquon. He was probably averaging like 3 to 4 yards per carry. But then in the late second half, kept on attacking. And guess what? We started a drive. I mean, we only started because we had the ball with 4 minutes to go. Of course, we didn't score in the first quarter. But, hey, we got the points on the first drive, baby. Let's go. Improvement. And I was very shocked about this. There was a left tackle, Fred Johnson, who was coming in for Jordan Mailata. I said this was going to be a weak spot against a very good Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard. He allowed 0 pressures. Jalen Hurts wasn't even sacked. The only turnover-worthy play I thought could have happened, third down, Jalen Hurts is trying to throw a quick pass to Kenny Gainwell. If Cam Taylor-Britt gets that ball, pick 6, game over. Luckily, Kenny Gainwell blocked it. Other than that, it was good. But then again, Jalen Hurts leads the league in turnover-worthy plays.
Yep.
There's a stat on that. But I'm going to say this. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith are the best wide receiver duo in the league. I don't effing care who says what.
I think he's 3rd or 4th behind in turnover-worthy plays. I don't know, like, according... So, I have this chart. Let me just share my screen.
Yeah.
I bookmarked it on Twitter, but I don't know how reliable it is. But as you can see, Jalen Hurts right here, 12 turnover-worthy plays, 4 interceptions. And to all, sorry to hijack your statement right here.
No, it's fine.
To all the idiots who are saying, oh, Jordan Love throws so much interceptions, looking at you, Mr. Who's your best friend? Cozy Bryant. Mr. Cozy Bryant.
Cozy catching all them strays. What is going on?
Look at the difference. Every single interception that he has had is because of unluckiness. There only have been like certain plays that have been turnover worthy. Whereas look at Jalen Hurts. Look at how lucky he is. 12 turnover worthy plays, but only 4 interceptions.
But also, you got to include fumbles.
Anyways,
too.
go ahead.
Yeah, but no, it makes sense. So, but it's like, just don't do that. Like, I get it, but this game was definitely an improvement. And I want to say, AJ Brown. I don't know. I think the screen is still being shared, but yeah, I wanted to say this: AJ Brown and Devontae Smith are the best wide receiver duo in the league. I don't effing care who says what. They're better than everyone else together. Brown attacking at the beginning of the game with 5 catches for 6 targets, 84 yards, a little bit of dink and dunk. Very impressive to see him fight for first downs via hitches and slightly in the middle of the field. But I want to talk about one man, the one who they call the Slim Reaper, the one who they call Skinny Batman, the one who was the Heisman Trophy winner, Mr. Devontae Smith. That man, I thought when the score was tied 17-17, Jalen Hurts fakes the head off to Saquon, going play action. Looks, I see AJ Brown open on one side on one go route. You see Devontae Smith burn through whoever was on that defensive back, and just throws a floater over the shoulder catch. Devontae Smith, 50-yard dime. What a play! And also, you know who also contributed to this? Grant Calcaterra. He protected for more than 4 seconds and allowed Hurts to make that play.
Yeah.
And credit to Calcaterra, 3 receptions for 58 yards. He had more receiving yards, I think, than Jamar Chase at the end, by the way. I didn't notice that.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we have to talk about Shoegate. What the hell was that? So, do you not know what happened?
No.
So I don't want to. I'm not going to show the video, but apparently, after a second down play in Bengals territory, clock is running low, and apparently Hurts realized his shoelace is untied, so he has to hurry back to the end zone. And I'm like, hey, the play clock is going. He had to call a timeout. And Dallas Goedert, who's on the bench, he was trying to fix it and cut it up with like his teeth or something like that. There's 5 training staff trying to get a shoe on properly. And you know what? There's like, you know what? Screw it. We're going to give him, he's wearing white shoes. They give him a green shoe, so he's basically now Jalen 2 shows.
Yeah.
2 shoes. And the same thing happened again with Kenny Gainwell.
Mm-hmm.
And so they put in Will Shipley when the game was already over. And Shipley technically had his first touchdown fighting for it, but it was called because of a stupid bullshit penalty on Tyler Steen. So, I mean, but one thing I'm going to say about the offensive side, like, it'll be quick. Eagles under center snaps against the Bengals, 21 times. 21 under center snaps. So, that's something that they're adapting against the Giants. They were 13. And against pre-snap motion, which is what I really wanted to see more. Their most they've done it was against the Packers and the Falcons. Bengals, they got it up to 43. So when you're using motion, when you're going under center, it does good things. Look at the Packers so far.
Mm-hmm.
And now I got to talk about defense. I'll be quick on this one because the first drive, what the hell was that? The Bengals have the ball first. You allowed a 17, the opening drive was a 17-play, 70-yard touchdown drive to Jamar Chase. You allowed 5 third-down conversions. You're good at stopping the run. You made Joe Burrow go 11 for 12. Are you freaking kidding me? Why are we playing soft-ass zone defense, Fangio? Are we back to playing North Korean defense? And you know what's even more mind-boggling? I see Nolan Smith, a defensive end, covering Jamar Chase for that touchdown.
That's the old Preston Smith CB1 role that Vic Fangio's defenses have, patented via Joe Burry.
Yeah.
Joe Barry.
God damn. But after that, like, the defense settled up properly. I mean, credit to Darius Slay for that huge breakup pass on a 3rd and 10.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we finally stopped an effing third down conversions before we made Evan McPherson kick a field goal. But I mean, and then huge plays in the second half after allowing another opening scoring drive. But I mean, defense did its part pretty well. Credit to Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean. Apparently, they were PFF's top graded linebackers for this game, for this week, apparently. And Nakobe Dean, I see him being more as that down blitz backer, and Zach Bond being that okay part, especially when you're going 5-2 and going in a Fangio's type of defense. But there were 2 big plays that I think that, I mean, there were consequential big plays by that defense. And number 1, 3rd and 1 on the Cincinnati 39. Joe Burrow hands off the ball to Zach Moss. Zach Moss runs into a brick wall named Brandon Graham. You want to know what happens on the next play? Bengals go in motion. They're trying to go for a screen pass to Jamar Chase. Mm-hmm. But guess who stops him? Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean. He's a freaking rookie, and he makes a beautiful tackle for a loss to prevent a 4th down and turns a turnover on down. It's a man-to-man coverage. And ever since, like, they've moved Cooper DeJean, I've seen the Eagles play a little bit more tightly, press man. I mean, and of course, Darius Slay being out, Isaiah Rodgers coming back in. Damn, what a fresh breath of air. And this was one of the best defensive efforts ever. So, on this play, Burrow throws deep right to Jamar Chase. Looks to be a post route. I mean, check that one on. But Rodgers, he's matching him step by step. along with safety Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who did something today.
He's
something
so bad.
He's an opportunity. He's a vulture.
Yeah.
And Rodgers tips the ball from Jamar Chase. Beautiful play, by the way.
Yeah.
And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson grabs it before he steps out of bounds. Tip drills. This is why you practice them. But apparently, after the play was done, it was reported that the Eagles' passing game defensive coordinator, defensive backs coach Christian Parker, was actually pissed at Isaiah Rodgers because Rodgers said, "I'm going to get this interception," whereas he did not, and it was CJ DJ. Hey, he's like, "Hey, you know what? I'm good with that." And then the next drive, Joe Burrow throws it to Mike Gesicki, who basically burned this Eagles defense, especially like, how the hell are you putting Avonte Maddox on Mike Gesicki? Complete mismatch. Why aren't you putting a linebacker? Zach Bond is playing a hell of a game. It makes, I don't get it. And then, but this is what I really liked because Mike Gesicki is trying to fight for the second or third down. I don't care what play it is because you know what happens. Peanut punch drill. Zach Bond punches the ball out. Nakobe Dean recovers it. Nakobe Dean, 9 tackles, one tackle for a loss, 1 fumble recovery. Nolan Smith and Milton Williams had a sack, both credit with a sack, but I don't know what kind of pressure I saw, but at least when we were getting to the quarterback, but Joe Burrow was able to throw pretty fast, but we were able to disrupt the rhythm. But then again, I have to talk about this. I think there's a voodoo curse because, my God, I thought Quinyon Mitchell had a guess. He had 2 targets, 2 catches allowed, 12 yards. That was by Jamar Chase. And of course, there's a penalty on that. But you know what? But Quinyon Mitchell's having himself a hell of a season so far against the top wide receiver target. But I mean, what are you gonna get one, man? I think, and you know what? I have a gut feeling. This upcoming game, if he grabs one, the entire link will explode. Then people are going to start greasing up the flagpoles, honestly, because I don't think we've seen a lockdown cute cornerback for the Eagles since the days of Lito Shepherd. And I mean, if I were to give my assessment, overall, great game by the Eagles, especially on offense, when you're driving the ball, mixing up the run, attacking the middle of the field, pre-motion, under center, and when in doubt, throw the deep ball. But I would definitely like to see a little bit more with Jahan Dotson because that trade is not looking too good. We barely used him. And people are saying, hey, Howie, do something by the trade deadline. I say no. Because right now, the way that this offense and defense finally getting that scheme together because they have somewhat the right players, and the offense getting that scheme together after that bye, you could go on a run. From game after game, this is where we evaluate. So I'm happy with this performance. Eagles are still a game behind those goddamn Commanders, and we'll talk about that why.
All righty. Now, let's move on to our Masala games of the week.
Oh, my God.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic, this game. I had the Commies and the Bears. The Commanders win 18-15. Now, you all might think that this is just a meaningless, scrappy, defensive-handed football game. And for the most of the game, it was like that. I think it was 9-0 for the first 3 quarters before some action actually happened.
Or 12-0 before they
12-0. Hail the Commanders and hail the Commander-in-Chief, Jaden Daniels. What a week. They have been the talk of the week for everyone. Why? I'm going to leave this to Rakshak and his Masala moment of the week, so I'll let him talk about it when he is going to describe what exactly happened that led to the Commanders winning.
Spoiler alert, I think it's the Masala moment of the year.
Masala moment of the year, and we'll talk about it why. But before we do, let's talk about what happened to lead up to that moment. Both offenses, terrible play calling, and were repeatedly stalled. But there was only one offense that actually faced a top-rated pass defense and succeeded. And that was the Commanders' offense. 17th in success rate, 14th in EPA per drop back against the number one, or before then, what was the number one pass defense? And we saw that. 326 passing yards, 168 rushing yards. But this is why the Bears have been a top 2, top 3 pass defense in the entire league so far this year. And that's because scoring. They were 0% in red zone. That means they could not score a touchdown to save their lives. They were 12-0 because of field goals. 4 straight field goals. Okay, now, one of the reasons why is because 2 of their touchdowns in the beginning were taken back because of penalties, and 1 was a clear drop by Zach Ertz. That was a little difficult to catch because Zach Ertz would have to had to reach up all the way up to get it, but he should have. I mean, this was something that he should have gotten, considering the tight end that he is. But not all is so bad. I mean, Jaden Daniels has been fantastic all year with this offense, and the credit goes to Cliff Kingsbury. It's not your typical air raid offense that he had at Texas Tech, or that he had with, the early years of Kyler Murray. When they transitioned into more of a zone running, heavy running emphasis scheme, that's when you really saw some success. And this is exactly what's happened with Jaden Daniels. They run on the outside end 43% of the time. So which means it's a heavy emphasis on zones, counters, sweeps, a lot of side-to-side running, run scheme. And it has been really, really effective, because what that enables is a massively successful RPO game, which is credit to Jaden Daniels' 4.4 running speed, a 40-yard time. So because Jaden Daniels is so mobile, they can threaten the elite running game with Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, and Jaden Daniels. Like, all 3 of them have specific roles. Brian Robinson is your thumper. He's your down-to-down back. Austin Eckler is your, not speed back, but he is your short down, short distance, but receiving back caliber running back. So he's a threat out of the backfield in screen games. And Jaden Daniels, obviously, is a threat in the running game itself because of his mobility and because of his ability to escape the pressure and the edges, and turn negative plays into positive plays. So this, while it didn't really show on the stat sheet, it was a good offensive performance against this stingy Bears defense. Now, I think I'm not worried about the Commanders offense. I think they're going to be a top 5 offense in the entire league after at the end of the season. I am worried about, as a Bears fan, if I ever was a Bears fan, if I wasn't a Packers fan, if I actually decided to vote and support this pathetic, miserable loser franchise known as the Chicago Bears, who continuously disparaged the name of football since the year 1920, who continuously defame the good name of American football by continuing to exist, their offense is in trouble, because they made the quote-unquote moves. They got the star quarterback in the rookie. They got all the shiny new toys for him to play with, but they cannot fix what we have said every single year. Build through the trenches.
Build through the trenches.
And this game clearly showed that. He was pressured by the Washington Commanders defensive line 51.6% of the time on his dropbacks and had just a 2.47 second time to pressure average. It is the highest pressure percentage and quickest time to pressure in his career. And that was with facing the Texans. That game where he was sacked like 8 or 9 times. So clearly his offensive line sucks. Now, that doesn't mean that he was a perfect quarterback, okay? He had terrible mistakes as well. 10 out of 24 attempts, 131 yards, with 314 intended air yards.
Oh
So
my
it's almost
God.
a third of what he intended to throw was actually completed. If you were to look at the discrepancy between what he intended per pass attempt versus what was completed per pass attempt, intended air yards is 13.1 per pass attempt. 3.8 was the completed air yards per pass attempt. There's almost a first down level of difference in terms of what they intended to do in the passing game versus what happened. And this is the Commander secondary we're talking about. This isn't like the Vikings or the Packers secondary, which is stout. This is the Commanders that they couldn't beat. And part of it was Caleb Williams. 55% bad throw percentage. So it really was a terrible, terrible game by this Bears offense. Nothing was working except for the running game. When they finally decided to run the ball, 33 attempts, 202 yards, 2 touchdowns across their running backs.
Yep.
Now, this is why they failed. Shane Waldron is a dumbass. He is.
You're right.
And if you want to have a 19-minute description as to why he's a dumbass, I would go and check out Brett Coleman's breakdown of why the Chicago Bears suck and why he sucks as an offensive coordinator and he doesn't deserve to be an offensive coordinator, and the fact that Matt Eberflus has to be fired. This entire coaching staff has to be fired if you're a Bears fan. Fortunately,
don't fire
for me,
them. Make them get rehired in the greatest place.
That's what I'm saying. Fortunately for me, I don't have to wish that. In fact, I wish the complete opposite because I know how it ends out. It all started. They had John Fox, the legendary Bears, quarterback, the legendary Bears head coach.
Panthers
and they drafted Mitch Trubisky.
Sure.
When they drafted Mitch Trubisky, it was John Fox's last year. They extended him. They fired him. They got Matt Nagy in. Then Mitch Trubisky failed while learning the second quarterback system. Then they drafted Justin Fields, played him 1 year under Matt Nagy, failed, got another offensive coordinator hired in Luke Getsy, I believe, after Justin Fields and Matt Eberflus. And then now they let go of Justin Fields because he failed again, and now they brought in Caleb Williams. Granted, Caleb Williams is the best prospect that they've had out of these three, but still, the cycle continues because the Chicago Bears is a worthless, pathetic, miserable organization that deserves to be dunked into the depths of Lake Michigan by a bag of rocks. All right? Every single Bears, if you're a Bears organization member, you deserve to be thrown into a rucksack with rocks dumped into Lake Michigan if you're a Bears fan. If you're not a Bears fan, and if you're a fan of the Vikings, Packers, or Lions, then all you have to do is continuously donate to the Virginia McCaskey ownership group who owns the Chicago Bears into letting them retain Matt Eberflus. Give them enough funds to pay for Matt Eberflus's permanent situation, permanent position as the head coach of the Chicago Bears organization. Do not let them fire Matt Eberflus.
I can't.
Just continue to keep him. And in fact, here's what I would do even better. I would hire Urban Meyer as your offensive coordinator. Okay. Because you know what? He brings that name recognition that you guys care so much without being so expensive, because we all know how he fared as a head coach and offensive coordinator in the NFL. Hell, bring Nick Saban in. Maybe not Nick Saban. Urban Meyer is probably no. You know what? I have a better idea. Jeff Saturday. Bring that guy in. I mean, he has such a vast knowledge base of the offensive side of the football. I'm sure he's going to work wonders on Caleb Williams. That's my 2 cents.
I just
Chicago Bears. Dumb Bears. This is now in my highlight reel of whenever I get sad. I'm just going to watch the reaction of this one man. M-Bone HD. Okay.
Who?
I will share my screen before.
Is he like ADP 445 of the Eagles?
I don't know.
Oh,
he is
dude.
a electric
I know
Bears
this dude.
fan. I love his reactions because he's so passionately invested in the organization of the Chicago Bears. So whenever they fail, which is very frequent, I just love to watch his reactions and make my soul happy again by filling it with his tears.
Knock it down.
Man.
So this man is the best if you're not a Bears fan to watch, because he just continues to be a source of joy for Vikings, Lions, and Packers fans.
That's just insane, man. Dude, you in the words of Rick James via Dave Chappelle, that was cold-blooded.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, so my game of the week was actually a contest, Falcons versus the Bucks. I believe the final score from that game was, and I quote, oh my goodness, why am I blanking? It was basically 31-26. And Kirk Cousins, Kirk Tolper is actually a real thing. Other than that down performance against the Seahawks, Kirk Cousins, this was an actual pivotal game against the Buccaneers, because this was a battle for the NFC South, and who wins that tiebreaker, with the Falcons winning it on that crazy play in overtime on the actual good Thursday night football game. But overall, Kirk Tolper is basically a real thing. And, I mean, Kirk Cousins was inevitable. He was 23 for 29, 279 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 2 sacks only. And big plays. I mean, so far this year against the Buccaneers, he has tossed for a total of 785 yards and 8 touchdowns. And I mean, this is just, it was insane. And to even talk about this, like, the reason why this offense was good, I mean, they did run the ball sometimes, like with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier in some cases, but Kirk Cousins was able to use his legs to avoid sacks and get through first downs. But the passing game is completely underrated, because especially with Drake London having like an off day, including and guess what? Kyle Pitts on National Titans Day was, I honestly thought he had himself a day. I mean, he led the scoring with 4 receptions, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Darnell Mooney also accompanied with four receptions, 86 yards, 1 touchdown. Bijan Robinson, seven receptions for 43 yards, 1 touchdown, to go along with 13 rushes and 63 yards, followed suit. The Bucks defense, I honestly thought like their only way to, I mean, because Kirk Cousins is notoriously used to throwing quick passes, but there was something that the Falcons used, like especially with that new Zach Robinson. They use. I noticed that they have actually used a lot more pre-snap motion, and it just over. And what it does, it helps with the development of his other targets. Like I mean, like when you notice like with Kyle Pitts, one of his first touchdown, Drake London, he's going left to create a 2-by-2 look, meaning they're going to show, and it shows like, hey, Kyle Pitts is going to go to the inside, London's to the outside. And the Bucks were coming in heavily injured, especially with two of their cornerbacks being out, and understanding with Kayvon Merriweather on the right. And this is probably why that the Bucks decided to put in Jordan Whitehead on to help Christian Eisen cover London. However, at the meantime, London was just being, hey, you're going to go on a fly route. First read for Cousins on that fourth down. Guess what? That motion is allowing Pitts to work through press coverage without any safety look. This guy, he's one-on-one. Kyle Pitts is going to dominate this, and he could gets that touchdown. And also, that pre-snap motion really helped off with Darnell Mooney big time. And again, when Drake London's motioning, Antoine Winfield Jr., he's seeing London's and Pitts running that dagger concept while London is running a dig route and Pitts is going vertical. So what does Winfield Jr. have to do? He has to target London. But guess what? Because with Kirk Cousins, he will love to target the middle of the field. Guess what happens? Kirk Cousins doesn't do that. Kyle Pitts is open. Boom. Attacks it. And Tyler Funderburk, the other replacement corner, who's matched up one-on-one to Kyle Pitts. This is what pre-snap motion does. And running 11 personnel, you're allowing Bijan Robinson to go to perform very well as a running back pass catcher. Just incredible play calling. And yes, Kirk Cousins did take 2 sacks, but I honestly thought this was brilliant. Surgical attack. And that's what they did. And of course, Tyler Algier had a bad he did have Tyler Algier and Kirk Cousins did have a bad fumble, which resulted in a safety. Game was a bit too close. And Younghoe Koo, he missed a crucial field goal at the he did miss a field goal near the end of the game, which it was when the score was 31-26. But we have to talk about the other side now. There was the Bucks under Baker Mayfield. They were pretty close, especially with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin being out. Godwin being out for the season, Evans basically on IR. I noticed that Mayfield had to use a lot of his tight ends and other wide receivers in K. Dot and Raheem Jarrett. And I did notice that I said like Jalen McMillan has to step up, and along with Sterling Shepard, but Shepard went out with injury. So it was mainly like 2 tight ends. So it was basically a lot of 2 tight ends that I saw. And I mean, with K. Dot and two touchdowns, with 9 receptions and 81 yards. Raheem Jarrett, 3 receptions for 58. I mean, Baker Mayfield had himself a good game, 37 for 50, 333 yards of passing, 3 touchdowns, 0 sacks. But the biggest issue was who will take turn. How is his team? The way that you can lose games is if your offense turns over the ball. Baker Mayfield, I mean, especially like when the Bucks are driving in, you had two. They had two costly turnovers. What both inside the 10-yard line, and Rashad White having a costly fumble, but basically the second play of the game. I mean, credit to that Falcons defense, especially Jesse Bates. Jesse Bates, the one of the pickup safeties, he sets the tone by forcing Rashad White to fumble to start that game, and he finishes with a pick. He's basically the first in Falcons history to record a forced fumble recovery, and an interception in the same game. I mean, if you know that both offenses are going to score heavily, the only way that the defense can somehow force some kind of momentum is through the turnover battle. And the Falcons defense, even though yes, they were being carved up for like 330 yards of passing with no Mike Evans and no Chris Godwin. I have to say this multiple times because that was an impressive game by Baker, but 2 picks, especially at the Falcons red zone. That's what really costed them. And I mean, like, yeah, second play. I mean, if you look at the second half, Baker Mayfield, 1st and 10 on the 37. You know you don't have the wide receivers. You're doing pretty well with the dink and dunk passes, especially to like Jalen McMillan. You're going to build up a little bit more on his confidence, but you're going for a deep pass to Ryan Miller, and then Jesse Bates makes an incredible interception inside the Atlanta 10-yard, inside the Atlanta 8-yard line. That was just beautiful to see. And then, of course, the second interception, Baker Mayfield trying to take a deep ball to Jalen McMillan. I will say this. When we were looking at draft prospects, Jalen McMillan has the speed, but where does he lack, Anand?
What?
He lacks hands.
Gotcha.
He lacks hands. AJ Terrell grabs a pick immediately. And honestly, I think this game was decided on turnovers, to be honest. And with this, the Falcons, and one crazy stat that I just saw, Kirk Cousins has thrown for 8 touchdowns against the Buccaneers this season combined, which is insane. And with this being said, we have to talk about one play, Anand. Especially on that first touchdown, or basically the second touchdown. I don't get it. But 2008's already over. Why the hell is everyone doing the Deshaun Jackson challenge? Yep. Basically, the Deshaun Jackson challenge is if you're a wide receiver or a big name tight end, you're running through you're about to score the touchdown. You basically drop the ball before you cross the touchdown plane. Why the hell are you doing this shit? Luckily, there was a challenge, and the rule that the ball did cross the field. But this was, what the hell is this shit? Why are we seeing the Deshaun Jackson play challenge? We see that in college. You should be benched for this.
Yeah.
But overall, great performance and if I had game balls to talk about, AJ Terrell and Jesse Bates, one of the best pickups that they have gotten. And again, a disappointment this time. I thought Matthew Judon would have had an impact on this game. What happened? He has had, so far in his last 3 games, he's only had 3 pressures, and he hasn't had a sack since week 2. Yet he leads the lead team in sacks. What the hell is this pass rush? Yeah. They barely got lucky because of secondary play. And with that being said, they're tied with Detroit with a 5-1 record in the NFC overall, but they still need to play a complete game because somehow, somewhere, we know the Falcons are good for one thing. When it matters the most, they will find a way to choke things.
Yep.
And now I'll say this. The only enemy that the Falcons have to worry about is themselves. You agree with me on this one?
Yeah. They do. They do, because they don't really have a contender in the NFC South. I feel like the AFC and the NFC South divisions line up very nicely this year, and that is you have one real contender and the others being like pretenders.
Yeah. It's we had the motion like, oh my god, this is gonna be like a war.
Mm-hmm.
We were fools.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yep. Alrighty. Um, what's up next? That is the best segment that we have ever created. That's the Punch Minute Recap. Alrighty, let's get
Lead the
started,
way.
shall we? For the AFC side, Ravens, Browns. Browns win, upset 29-24 because guess what? Jameis Winston ate the W and slayed. He slayed the Ravens Dragons. And finally, they have a 300-yard passer, and the Browns will continue to pay for their mistake because Deshaun Watson in 26-plus games has never crossed 300-plus yards in passing. Joe Flacco and Jameis Winston in 7 games, all of them 300-plus.
I mean, we got to talk about the Ravens. Rashad Bateman, how the hell do you drop a catch? And Kyle Hamilton.
Drop City. That's what it is. Because the sun came too fast at Rashad Bateman. That's why he dropped it. Alrighty. Next game. Oh, boy. Titans, Lions. Lions 52-14. And they scored 52 points with 55 net passing yards. That has... The last time that has happened was like 1940s.
Oh my god.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Over 200 yards returning with a touchdown. 4 picks. Easily, the Lions are the best team and the most complete team, barring any setbacks. Jameson Williams, anybody? Titans, they're done. They're done. The Will Levis experiment has failed. Just scrap it. It has not worked. Jets, Patriots. Oh my God, Jets. Lol, Jets. Lol, Jets. They lost to the Patriots 25-22.
That's gotta
Jacoby
sting.
Brissett throwing the game-winning, leading the game-winning drive with the field goal. This is the first time in NFL history, including playoffs, that when they held the opponent to fewer than 250 yards of offense, scored 20-plus points, and won the turnover battle, didn't turn it over, NFL teams are 750-1. That one was the Jets. Yes, on Sunday. 750 times the NFL teams have won in NFL history.
Yep.
That's pre-merger. 100 years.
That's just insane, man.
And one loss was the Jets. They continue to find ways to make their fan base depressed. So depressed. Year in, year out, whether it's the butt fumble or this or any of the other 5 cajillion different ways that the Jets have found a way to lose. There are no words.
No words.
Colts, Texans. Texans win 23-20. Anthony Richardson, as we know, he had such a bad completion percentage, about 30% completion percentage. He got benched for the foreseeable future. And as I had mentioned before in the Makadar news segment, I just don't know what the Colts are planning here. It's almost like they've just run out of ideas. Just trying to make things work. Anyways, I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Bills, 31. Sea Chickens, 10. The Bills showed the reason why they're the second best team in the AFC. Seventh best EPA per play on defense. Sixth in points per game allowed on the season. That too without any of their key players on defense except for Ed Oliver.
It's basically an up and down season for the Seahawks. Like they'll win
Yeah.
one game, they'll dominate one team,
Yeah.
and then they get curb stomped. Like
They're a
what the hell?
9-8 team. Good enough to beat the bad teams, bad enough to not beat the good teams. That's what they are.
Fair enough.
Alrighty. Chiefs, Raiders, 27-20. Same old. Travis Kelce had lots of yards. Mahomes threw another interception. It's just tied for the most with 9 total. He still wins and is undefeated. I don't
can't
care.
keep getting away with
I'm going to keep moving on. I don't care about the Chiefs right now because we know whatever happens, they're going to find some way to make it in January because the refs are in cahoots with the Chiefs organization. They all want a pair of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. I don't know what they're doing. Probably something in the backyard of Patrick Mahomes' mansion estate. All right, some sort of party's going on there where they're all having their little party gathering. Something is happening because the Chiefs are just they whatever. I don't care. I have 0 words. Giants and the Russell Wilson led Steelers.
Oh my god.
26-18. The derpy derps of the week. Back at it again. It got so bad that Danny Dimes got pissed off at Brian Daboll for this play call.
Oh, you're talking about that.
This play call right here.
Impractical jokers at best. Are you
Look at this. Look at this. Thanks to Annie Agar, by the way. The credit to this goes to Annie Agar. Look at this. You've got 3 down. This reminds me of that Colts special teams play. Yeah. So you have 3 down linemen right here. 3 offensive linemen blocking and protecting the throw. You've got 5 offensive linemen and 2 receivers. One is it's basically a screen. It's basically a screen. But the one guy all 5 offensive linemen are supposed to protect sneaks through like butter on bread.
Butter on 5-point bit so much, bro.
Melted butter on sponge. That's exactly what this is. And it's easily broken up. What is this? What is this? What is this?
No explanation.
How are the offensive linemen so bad that they can't block one guy for a screen pass for 2 yards?
Oh my god, bro.
What is this, Giants?
I don't think I can continue, man.
What is that? Oh my god, man. I just sometimes the Giants are just so hilariously derp.
Oh my.
Hilariously derpy.
It's been a bad weekend for New York sports, except for the Bills.
Yeah. Let me actually show a video of this. Oh my god, there's a slow-mo video.
This is like, according to your entry, this is actually the greatest game.
Yeah.
This is called the greatest game.
Yes.
Oh.
See, everybody's looking in. Here comes Highsmith. It happened so fast. I thought
they're just standing there.
initially Highsmith was offsides, but I mean,
that's Danny Dimes being upset at Brandon Daboll.
See everybody.
Yes.
He doesn't even get to have his name said right. What is that? I mean, man.
That's just
Anyways.
insane, man.
Anyways, let's move on with the NFC.
For the NFC, Vikings versus Rams on a Thursday night game. Apparently, 20-30. It was actually a good game between opposites, but apparently, ref ball strikes on a blatant face mask on Sam Darnold, which apparently was ruled the safety. Byron Young at the time. It's like this, no. Or I think it was like Brandon Fisk or Jared Verse, something like that. But
No, it was Byron Young.
It was like la 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 la, not listening. That was clever. Cal, and we have to talk about the greatest. I honestly think this is the greatest game that America has produced on a Sunday. And say it with me, America.
How about that?
Oh boy. Oh, Sunday night game. Oh, poor Cowboys. You thought you had it, but you lose 24-30, but instead you got steamrolled by Isaac Guerrero, who came out of
He was actually one of my draft crushes. He was like, if this guy gets it together in terms of his deficiencies, watch out.
I mean, that after and Dak Prescott, elite passing, 2 for 2, baby. 2 touchdowns, both the CeeDee Lamb, because the Niners defense started playing soft, and 2 interceptions.
Prime time
go.
Elite prime time Dak.
Elite play calling Cowboys. Elite play calling.
It got so bad. We had to turn off the game. And we were just watching it in the background. We were watching the game in the background, and we still had to turn it off because it was so pathetically miserable to watch this.
That brings music to my ears.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cardinals versus Dolphins. Cardinals win 28-27 against the Dolphins. Yeah, Tua came back. But Kyler Murray and apparently that guru defensive coordinator, Jonathan effing Gannon, how the hell he keeps on winning games, and apparently they're now tied for the NFC West. Another game-winning field goal kick.
So I'll say you this one thing about Cardinals. They had the 4th toughest schedule going into this game. And then after this game, they have, I think, the easiest schedule in the entire league. And they're 4-4. Actually, let's take a look at the game.
At the Cardinals?
Sorry. Yeah. I just wanted to check. They might. Okay, so they got the Bears, Jets, Seahawks, Vikings, Seahawks, Patriots, Panthers, Rams, Niners.
Okay, they can win some games, but I think they'll cross the 9-game threshold.
I think they'll get to 11 games. I think they go 7-2 in the next games.
Oh my God! If they go 7-2, then that's gonna. I mean, what are we seeing that we're not?
They probably lose one of the games versus the Seahawks. They'll probably lose against the Bears next week.
They have. I mean, Bears got to get it together. We'll talk about that soon.
We'll see.
But yeah. I mean, Saints versus Chargers. Saints lose 8-26. Again, we saw some dirty plays, but especially with the Saints. And shout out to Bradley Bozeman for shoving that guy to the ground.
Yeah.
And Vlad McConkey had himself a day. 2 touchdown passes.
Mm-hmm.
Who's got it better than anyone? Nobody. I think that's what the code is, Jim Harbaugh. Just correct me. And Panthers versus... Why do I want to talk about the Panthers and the Broncos? Why? It's... I mean, yeah, Bryce Young came into play. 2 touchdowns thrown, but also 2 picks. But apparently Sean Payton didn't like the way the Broncos started and finished. They're 28-14. I mean, they were dominating this game. The second quarter, they had 21 unanswered. They put 28 unanswered points. And then they decide to play, hey, who can literally throw the ball? It was not just Bo Nix passing. It was apparently like their fullback or their wide receiver was passing the ball too. I mean, I didn't watch the highlights, but it was bad. You had Cortland Sutton throwing a pass. You had Riley Dixon throwing a pass. So I mean, even with that, like, Cortland Sutton had himself a 8 receptions, 100-yard game, and Adam Troutman 1 touchdown. But yeah, I mean, Sean Payton didn't like the way he see it, and apparently because of that game, J.C. Horn, the Panthers corner, was talking shit to Sean Payton at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Sell, baby, sell. Thankful.
Yep. Alrighty. Let's move on. Masala moment of the week. So for me, it's an almost play, an almost touchdown that should have counted, but doesn't because the NFL makes some asinine rules about what a catch actually is. All right, so I'm going to share my screen and share this YouTube video of this.
Out of the shotgun, Wilson lets it fly. Passes caught by Pickens.
Oh, that's a touchdown.
Steelers.
Yeah, but it is called back
As Deontay Banks comes.
because of this reason.
It's a tough catch for George Pickens. See strong hand.
That's
Did you
two.
see? It's
That's
not.
two. That's
It's
two.
not.
How is it not 2?
It's 2 taps by the same foot. One
It's a
thing
tough
foot,
catch for George
one
Pickens. See
thing foot. It's both of the times the right
strong
leg.
hands as
And that's
Deontay Banks
why
comes in to try to make a play, but
It's
Banks.
not called a catch because the same foot hits. I feel like if he, this rule shouldn't be so absolute. It should be on a case by case basis. It should be a judgment call. And this is clearly a catch. I mean, he caught
This
the
is a
ball.
catch.
He maintained possession as he went through the ground. It should be a touchdown, man. It should be a touchdown, but it's not. It's so bad.
Yeah. And
Now,
we all know what the play I'm going to talk about.
exactly.
Hail Noah. That's what they're calling it. And I'm going to put this on mute for a bit. So, here's a play.
Yeah.
1 second. Are you seeing my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So, play happens. It's basically they're at the 45 after making some crucial first down plays. Enough for a pass. They're playing prevent. You're rushing with 3 linemen.
3 and 1 spy. Because
Makes-
apparently Jaden Daniels with the busted rib is going to run 65 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
Because that makes sense.
And then here's the play. He basically Jaden Daniels looking around, moves right, then sees perfect, moves left, and then he just throws enough to throw it. Game's already expired. Guess what happens? Bears tip it. No, Brown is right there at the right position. Yes,
Yep.
it is luck, but the Commanders got themselves in position to make this play even happen.
Mm-hmm.
And before this play, there's a Twitter feed. Bears cornerback Tyreek Stevenson is talking so much smack to the fans. And as this coming closer, he's like, oh shit, I gotta get back at it.
No. The Bears fans were literally showing Tyreek Stevenson that the play is happening while Tyreek Stevenson is taunting the Commanders fans. And while the play is happening, Tyreek Stevenson has to turn back around, get to where the position is, and then actually make a play.
He tips it to
do his
Noah
job.
Brown. He tips it to Noah Brown.
Yeah. Let me show another angle that I captured. Yeah. Okay. So here, I bookmarked a couple because I was like, okay, we're gonna talk about
We
this.
have to talk about the.
Look at this.
Oh,
So you see that the play is happening.
yeah,
Here is Tyreek Stevenson still talking trash
yeah.
to Commanders fans. And then you look at where it is. Look at that. They are nearly in the end zone. The Commanders are nearly in the end zone before Tyreek Stevenson realizes that he has to actually defend. Launches it, and it's Tyreek Stevenson who tips the ball.
it? He literally
He's
tipped
the
it
one
to
who
the
tipped it
ground.
back. Tyreek Stevenson was the guy.
Low count of the
back.
year for this.
Just watch this. Tyreek Stevenson's right there. He's taunting. And he has to get back. And now this is where we have a failure in execution. And this is where the Bears coaches have to come in. Specifically Matt Eberflus. Why doesn't he take a timeout? They have three timeouts left. Why doesn't he take a timeout? And basically, before the play is going, and he sees Tyreek Stevenson talking trash, he should be taking a timeout, resetting, making sure that the play is done. But no. Look at this. The Bears had a 97.9% win probability before
the Hail Noah.
Before the Hail Noah.
I mean, that's just not only poor coaching but poor recognition. I saw a meme in which it's the same position with Tyreek Stevenson. Tyreek Stevenson is like the Yankees going up 5-0 in the 5th inning of Game 5 of the World Series. Jaden Daniels being the Dodgers about to put 5 unanswered to tie the game. I mean, this is basically like how for those that watched the World Series, like Game 5, the Yankees were up 5-0. Top of the 5th, after costly errors, the Dodgers tied and go back to win the damn thing.
Painful.
That was a meltdown, and I'm like, where have I seen this before?
But yeah, here you see. So Brett Coleman did this deep dive of 15 minutes, right? Since 2005, here's the data for difference between rushing 4 and rushing 3. Rushing 3, 16.7% touchdown rate, 5 of 18. Rushing 4, 3 of 21, 14.9% touchdown rate. Only one touchdown has been scored in rushing 4 plus. And guess what? When the Vikings had a Hail Mary attempt against the Lions, what did the Lions do? They pass rushed. They brought a blitz. They brought a 4 or 5 man pressure against Sam Darnold and sacked him
to win the game.
And in the same week, Anthony Richardson versus the Texans, the game literally hung on a last-minute field goal, Hail Mary attempt by the Colts. And what did the Texans do? They rushed 4, but they overloaded one side of the front, so it would force Anthony Richardson to move to his left, which is not a great place to be for a right-handed quarterback who has to throw 65 yards in the air and hope that it's caught. And eventually, he is sacked. But, I mean, dude, Jaden Daniels held the ball for 12 seconds.
That's just
12
insane.
to 13 seconds. I mean, they were double teaming the pass rushers. This is a systematic failure in Bears defense history.
And defensive history of ever. This is what you're not supposed to do.
I mean, Jaden Daniels has a busted rib.
I have no words, man.
Unbelievable. Alrighty. Well, that's it for week 8. Now, on to the newest segment that we have for our season this year, and that is the NFL's quarterly business report. Starting with our top 5 worst teams. I think we can all agree, Blackshak.
Yes.
The Panthers. They are clearly the worst. There's really no arguing. I mean, they're 1-7. They have no hope left. Andy Dalton is injured, so they have to bring back Bryce Young, who they benched before previously for being Bryce Young. He's the only quarterback besides Deshaun Watson to be like super, super negative in terms of EPA per play. And it's just like, what do you do?
I don't know what
There's
you
no
do.
hope for the Panthers because you have your first round pick, but the quarterbacks this year are not going to be good. They're not. You're probably going to end up with the first overall pick again.
Yeah. I think we can both agree that we both had the Panthers as
Yeah.
like, I don't care what order.
Oh, clearly,
Yeah.
Panthers are the worst.
Yep.
For me, next is the Titans.
Same here. I got
And-
the Titans on that list. Will Levis and the quarterback situation is a liability. I don't know what kind of offense that they're running. Defense can only do so
more about
much.
Yeah. No, talk more about it. Why else is the Titans, so
I
bad,
mean,
in your
did
opinion?
you see their defense did this? I mean, if you lived in the Plano School District in Texas,
Mhm.
there's a school called Wiley High School. They have this battle cry called AHMO.
Mm.
AHMO. Annihilate, humiliate, mutilate, obliterate.
Hmm.
That's what the Lions literally did to the Titans.
Mhm.
They were the Olympians and they dethroned them off of Mount Olympus, if you
Yeah.
want any more references. I mean, Will Levis is a meme factory itself. Even with Mason Rudolph under helm,
Mhm.
they don't have a consistent run game. They're only relying too much on Calvin Ridley because he's so frustrated and he wants more targets. I mean, Nick Westbrook, Akine, and Traylon Burks. I wonder what the hell happened to that guy ever since he gave away A.J. Brown to the Eagles. I mean, thank you for that. And L'Jarius Sneed. So much for that trade. What the
Mhm.
hell is that secondary?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
even
I
need to go
mean-
stats because what we see live truly exemplifies why your team sucks.
Mhm. Alrighty. Yeah. For me, I'm going to have the Patriots as
Ooh.
the third worst team. And the reason why is not because of the offense. We knew this offense was going to be a struggle.
Yeah.
It's because of the defense. I mean, when you look at what has been done to this Patriots defense last year, I believe they were, as Bill Belichick was saying, they were a top 5 defense against the pass, and I think the number 1 defense against the run in terms of DVOA. You look at it this year, they are 30th in overall DVOA, 30th against the pass, and 29th against the run. Overall, they have significantly underachieved based on the talent that they have. Now, granted, they did lose Christian Barmore, right, for the season. They lost Julius Peppers because of suspension. You still have Kyle Duggar, you still have Christian Gonzalez for the most part. No, you also did lose Jawan Bentley, who is your, who's one of your key linebackers, but you still have most of your actual defense. It shouldn't be that drastic of a drop off. You still have Keon White, who individually is a really good pass rusher.
Fair enough. Yeah.
It is really, if you're a Patriots fan, it is really difficult to see the Patriots defense letting you down. Now, if it was like regression to the mean, then that's understandable because it's an outlier performance for the Patriots defense. Nobody really expected the Patriots defense to be that good realistically last year, especially with the amount of players that they had. But you also let go of Matthew Judon. So you let your star pass rusher go. But still, to this level, yeah. I didn't really expect that. Fourth for me is Raiders.
Mhm.
Same reason.
Oh,
Offense he was
yeah.
going to be bad. But defensively, I at least thought this defense was going to be, on par. That hasn't been the case. And the
What the hell is their QB?
Derpy Derps, at least their defense is like top 15.
Yeah. Giants have a good pass rush.
Right. But the Derpy Derps just continue to embarrass themselves week in, week out, finding new ways to lose, finding new ways to make the Danny Dimes contract be worse.
Yeah.
Not just on paper. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Alrighty. For you?
I think for me, I had the Panthers and the Titans in that same order.
Right.
I have the Jags
Okay.
instead of the Patriots because the look at the Jags team itself. Doug Peterson I'm seeing 2020 Doug Peterson with the Eagles all over again with the way that this team has fallen.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Lawrence does not have a consistent, if you want to talk about, and this all goes on defense, when you went with Ryan Nielsen as your defensive coordinator, this is according to FTN Fantasy. And I'm just reading this off. They're 32nd in defensive DVOA. They're 32nd in pass rushing, in passing DVOA, defensive passing. They're 11th against the run. Wonderful. Yeah. They have been burnt toast. Look what the Packers were able to do when they threw the. Trevor Lawrence can only do so much, but when Travis Etienne being issued, they started. Okay, let's go ahead and use Tank Bigsby. Too late for that. You should have used him earlier while Etienne was being used, getting healed up. And to pair up Brian Thomas with Gabe Davis and Parker Washington and Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk. That's poor management by by Trent Baalke, who should be shipped to North Korea for this.
Yeah.
And how are you allowing it's mind-blowing to see how and you're keeping Press Taylor as your offensive coordinator. Why?
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it. They don't use Tank Bigsby right. They continue to make Travis Etienne happen. Yeah. No, I agree. I see your point. I just think that the Patriots, I personally had higher expectations for the Patriots defense versus the Jags defense. But yeah, I can see why.
And then of course I had the Raiders along with that. I don't know what the hell's their QB. Who it is, even if it's Minshew or if it's Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
I think Antonio Pierce has lost his team.
Actually, they have Desmond Ridder starting now.
Oh no!
They have Desmond Ridder as their starting
Oh
quarterback
God!
now.
Oh no! And then my final team, you're gonna laugh at this. Any New Jersey team, whether it be the Giants or whether it be the Jets.
Yep.
Both of those teams are so bad. Aaron Rodgers having so much expectations. Oh, we're gonna have cayenne pepper extracted with water. That's gonna be so well for us. Well, we'll talk about next week because of what happened. But goodness. They have even with Robert Saleh being out, they have their defense is tanking. It's all the offense. Why the hell are you using Nathaniel Hackett? He should have been out the minute. You should have gone with someone else.
Yep.
And Nick Rogers, you know what? You're not the general manager. I am. But now Aaron Rodgers is the meme. Look at me. I'm the captain.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes.
It's stupid.
Yeah. Alrighty. Now on to some positive news. Best teams in the league.
Yep.
It's got to be said. For me, it's the Lions.
Yep. I have the Lions too.
Unfortunately for me as a Packers fan, the Lions are just doing everything right. Offense, defense, special teams. They have the best special teams unit. I'm going to describe this in a little bit. Best special teams unit in the league. I expect them to be in the NFC Championship game. There's no doubt.
100%.
There's no doubt. Jared Goff has had like 20 touchdowns and 15 incompletions or whatever ridiculous stat you want to throw out there. Unbelievable. The fact last game he had his stat line was something around the stat line of
like 52
14
yards of completion.
Yeah. 62 yards and 3 touchdowns.
All because of the run game.
All because of the run
diversifying.
game, the defense, and the return game.
That's just insane.
That's how you know that this team is humming on all cylinders. All cylinders are firing. That's why they're the best team in the league. Second best
100%.
team is the Chiefs, and the only reason why they're the second best is because the offense right now is not running to what our expectations is, and that's because of Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
9 interceptions, but only like 8 touchdowns. So not doing a good job in terms of touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah, but they're winning with defense. I have the Chiefs.
Exactly.
I mean, like for me, particularly in no order, I have the Lions and the Chiefs on that. So on those 2 points.
No, but dude, put it in order. It's okay. Put it in
I mean,
order.
if I were to say this, like, I actually have like the Chiefs number 1 because they're the only undefeated team. And Steve Spagnuolo's defense, regardless if you have a good offense or not, he's going to find a way to freaking exploit it. And it annoys the hell out of teams.
Yeah.
He's the only one to have defeat Kyle Shanahan, I don't know, 1, 2, and counting.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No, I
insane.
agree. I can see that.
And the Lions, I think the only reason why they're second, Aiden Hutchinson getting hurt and Jason Williams in a little bit of trouble. Without that Hutchinson, I don't think that pass rush is effective as we've seen. That's why some people are saying, hey, make that trade for Hassan Reddick. But no, Hassan Reddick's already suited up.
Yeah.
So, or, I mean, if they go and try and get Myles Garrett or Max Crosby, God help us all.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a little bit of a controversial take.
Oh.
Commies. Third best team.
Okay.
The Commanders. And that's purely because of their offense. It is so far and ahead in terms of explosiveness, in terms of efficiency. Well, explosiveness, they're decent, or especially over the past 4 weeks. But in terms of efficiency over the entire season, in terms of just completely dismantling other opposing defenses, I think they've been a top 5 offense in the entire league. And I'm trying to find out where this, So the Commanders offense averages, I think, like 0.3 EPA per play, which is the highest in the entire league. And only 2 teams are close by, and that's the Ravens and the Bills. Now, defensively, the reason why they're number 3 is because their defense is pretty suspect. We all know, especially this past defense, is not incapable, but is undermanned. I will say that. They are significantly undermanned in terms of talent. They have a good defensive coordinator in Dan Quinn, especially considering the job that he did with the Cowboys last year, especially until the Packers came to town. But yeah, he's done an admirable job considering the talent that the Commanders have on the defensive side. Now, the offense is what's keeping them at number 3. And if you don't believe that they're number 3, that's fine. I think that they're the third best team in the league. And they just proved it by beating the Bears, a top 3 defense, without having a good offensive performance.
Fair enough.
So
I will, yeah. And with that, I will counter it with the Falcons.
Oh my God. Falcons?
Hear me out.
Okay.
The way that Kirk Cousins has been playing, especially in October, yes, Kirk Cousins sent the Falcons funky flock. I mean, when with Zach Robinson using a lot more of that pre-snap motion and under center, he's fully using the abilities of Kyle Pitts and Drake London to have breakout games so far. Hell, you're seeing the likes of freaking Darnell Mooney. Yeah, Darnell Mooney, not Devin Duvernay, because I'm thinking someone else. Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod. Bijan Robinson finally remembers he's a freaking running back from UT who can bulldoze people. And yes, the Falcons defense is a bit shaky, but they've been very opportunistic, especially with the acquisitions of re-signing AJ Terrell, getting Justin Simmons and Jesse Bates. Hell, I don't know if you heard the stat. Jesse Bates is like the first in Falcons history to force a fumble, recover a fumble, and get a pick. Wow. All in one game.
Wow.
If he's been like so far, like the Falcons secondary is nothing to scoff at. And they have been good when shutting down the run game. They were pretty close to beating the Chiefs if it weren't for a freaking ref ball and whatnot. But yes, there are some consistencies. But that Falcons team, they just need to play a little bit more complete games. Yeah. They face more tougher teams than the Commanders have so far. That's why I have the Falcons at number 3.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, I think the Falcons are a week-to-week team. I think it really depends on their opponent. Commanders are the third best team in terms of point differential.
Okay.
At plus 69. So I don't know. I don't really think the Falcons are the third best team. I just don't trust that offense. I definitely don't trust that defense to be consistent week in, week out. At least I know what I get from the Commanders offense. And that's at least a strong running game. Right. And their defense has shown up from time to time, only allowing a total of, I believe, they're like top 15, top 10 in terms of points allowed at 167 total points. So that's not bad considering the talent that they have, and that just goes to show what a bang-up job that Dan Quinn has done. So that's the reason why I think the Commies are third. Fourth is the Bills. Similar reason as the Commanders. Their offense is humming. Yeah. Their defense is top 10 in the entire league. And they're the second best team in the league in terms of point differential. They've won 3 straight games. They're on a hot streak. They just dismantled the Sea Chickens. They're 6-2, same record as the Commanders. I just haven't seen, like, Josh Allen has been very lucky, as we did mention that, right? He's had 12 turnover-worthy plays, but only 1 interception, I think, so far.
Yeah, that was the ex-Eagle legend and Josh Jobe.
Exactly. So I think his time will come, but I would not be shocked to see the Bills in the AFC Championship again, because they are a nearly complete team. I just want to see more consistency, especially now with Amari Cooper. I think this offense is going to hit another stratosphere with Amari Cooper coming in. So I'm excited to see what the Bills can do. hopefully maybe take down the Chiefs. Hopefully maybe. But yeah. That's for me, the Bills at number 4. Number 5, the Packers. But dude, we're 2.5-0 with Malik Willis, 4-2 with 3.5-2 with Jordan Love as our QB. Matt LaFleur is the top 4 offensive coordinator, offensive play designer in the league, and our defense is fantastic against the pass. Against the run, decent. They are decent. And Jeff Hafley has done a really, really solid job of coming in his first year, taking the talent around him. Brian Gutekunst should be executive of the year with the amount of moves that he's made, bringing in Josh Jacobs, bringing in Xavier McKinney, drafting Evan Williams, drafting Javon Bullard, drafting Adrian Cooper. 5 key plays who have all been massive starters this year. Key starters and have made consistent plays week in, week out. So I think he definitely deserves to be executive of the year. We'll see as the season goes along just how successful the Packers, how much they can sustain this defensive performance, and this Lions is going to be a huge test. So, Yep, that's it.
Funny you say this because I actually have the last 2 reversed. I have the Packers going 4th over the Bills.
Hey yo, okay, I'll take it.
I mean, that Packers defense, when it is clicking, they're much more. They appear to be more consistent. And and there's only 3 things that matter in life: death, taxes, and Xavier McKinney picking the ball away.
Yeah.
3 things in life. And even with Jordan Love getting hurt, Malik Willis has stepped up. And I mean, credit to Josh Allen for playing clean football, except for that 1 turnover and that turnover-worthy play. But it's times like this, like when the Bills are playing consistent, if they face off against a really good defense, say the Chiefs, how are they going to break that mold? I honestly, I just don't see that happening, man. It's gonna be again. It's gonna be the brides. I don't know what that term is. It's like I don't know what the term is, but they're gonna be left of runner-ups in the AFC again. And surprisingly, I left the Ravens and the Texans out because Ravens, they apparently like to shoot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, I just don't think that their defense
and the Texans.
Okay,
no, I actually will. You know what? I actually want to say something about the Texans. Never thought I would say this in my life. I have an F alert.
You have what?
A fraud alert.
Ooh. Okay.
The Texans are looking pretty fraud and sus.
Yeah.
Reason being, that offensive line is so bad. You're looking at games. Hell, CJ Stroud was 8 for 20. And the past couple of games that we're seeing, even with Stephon Diggs being out, even with Nico Collins on IR, what do? You try and rely on that run game to help out with the pass. But no, I'm seeing CJ Stroud having 30 attempts. That is not consistent football. I've seen this shit before. It doesn't work.
And even when he throws, he's given like a second to actually throw. Do you know? So this is CJ Stroud's pressure rate by week. All right. Week 1, 31.6, 30.8, 35.3, 28.3, 35.7, 31.4. Then week 7, 51.7, 46.2, 47.8. 51.7, mind you, that's versus the Packers. So week 7 onwards, these past 3 games for the Texans, Packers, Colts, and the Jets, since yesterday was Thursday, we're recording on a Friday. Yeah, NFL worst rate on the season, 43%. So nearly half of all dropbacks CJ Stroud is under pressure. And he has now had 30 total sacks on the entire season. 8 sacks by the Jets yesterday on Thursday Night Football for Week 9.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Spoiler alert.
It's a serious issue for the Texans to move forward.
Yeah, and which is why they're right now on the fraud alert.
Yeah. And especially when you face a team like the Chiefs, who are going to make your life living hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. So, very interesting. I think now we know, like, who the worst teams are, at least. We've pretty much solidified the bottom 5. It's gonna be it's the Panthers, Titans, Patriots or Jags, depending on who you're talking about.
Any New Jersey team.
Yeah.
The Jets or the Giants.
Yeah.
Or you can combine them.
Yeah. Anyways, that's it for us for Week 8 and the quarterly business review. So now we're going to preview Week 9. Hopefully breeze through this because it is time to end this episode. Nearly. All right, so we'll try and breeze through this. All right. Packers. We are facing the Lions. It is Lions week. It is the first game against the Lions at Green Bay. This is the most complete team the Packers have faced so far. The Lions are literally the best team. We've just described that. They're the best team. They're one of the best in terms of offense, defense, and special teams. But together, they are the best team, period, end of discussion. Offensively speaking, they're 4th in total EPA per play, 4th in total DVA, best rushing offense in terms of EPA per play, 2nd in points per drive. So these guys, and I'm trying to bring up the actual stat here. I think they are, one second. So they are one of the most, one of the highest scoring teams in the league. We all know that in terms of total points scored, but in terms of on a per drive basis, if we were to look at points per drive, they, I believe, have, oh no, where is this? There we go. They're scoring almost a field goal every single drive. They're the 2nd best team in the entire league in terms of yards per drive, but they're the 2nd best team in terms of points per drive. They're averaging 2.91 points per drive. So that's almost a field goal. That's impressive. Same thing as the Commanders. And they also have the best touchdown to field goal ratio, which means how many times do they score touchdowns versus how many times do they score field goals. They are at 2.55 in terms of ratios. That means for every field goal, they're scoring 2.5 touchdowns. So that's like 17-3 almost. That's their advantage.
Close enough. Yeah.
To field goals. For every field goal, they're scoring 2.5 touchdowns. It's a ridiculous level of offensive execution. And it's part of that is because of Ben Johnson's creativity. The other part is their insanely well-oiled running game with Sonic and Chuckles, David Montgomery, and Sonic and Knuckles. There we go. David Montgomery.
You already said Sonic and Chuckles. I'm like, who the hell is Chuckles? Is he like a hybrid echidna, but now it's Knuckles? Okay.
Yeah. In David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league for run blocking specifically. And Jared Goff is just not turning the ball over. Right. Now, it gets even worse for the Packers. And that's because Evan Williams is out.
Oh, no.
One of the best young safeties in the league is out. Jair
Oof.
Alexander is listed as a questionable. He might be out. So in a scenario where we don't have Evan Williams and Jair Alexander and Javon Bullard has to go back to safety, Jared Goff is averaging 2.5 touchdowns and 3.3 incompletions over the last 4 weeks. Do you understand how insane that is? He's averaging 3 incompletions a game and 2.5 touchdowns a game in the past 4 weeks.
It just exemplifies that Jared Goff. Yes, this shows like why he was like the number 1 QB picked in his class, because his ability to make fewer mistakes when he plays, he doesn't go for the big risks, but when he does, he can attack it just like that. The Rams put him in shitty positions, and now look what he's doing with the Lions, especially under Ben Johnson.
Yeah, and that's the key thing. Ben Johnson has made his life very easy, along with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, just supplying him with all the weaponry possible. Now, as invincible as they may sound, they have a flaw, and that is their third down offense.
Ooh.
19th in EPA per dropback on third down. So that basically means that on first and second down is when they score most of their points and are the most explosive team. When it comes to third down offense, especially when it's third and long, they just don't have the proper answers, especially when Jared Goff gets pressured. That is where the Packers defense can take, advantage, because the Packers have the best pass defense on third down in terms of EPA per play in the entire league. So if we can get the Lions to third down more often than not, then it'll give us a great chance, offensively speaking, for the Packers to go and win this game. For the Lions, it's very easy. Win on first and second down. The Jaguars were able to do it in the second half. Now, it's not going to be the same level because we're not in Jacksonville. We're going to be in Green Bay. In Green Bay, Packers are acclimated to that weather. They're good to go in the second half. Now, the Lions have to focus on expanding that run game, right? Especially if you just continue to run it down the throat. Use your offensive line and be very creative in your run game. That's one of the ways that the Lions can beat this Packers defense. So now, defensively speaking, the Lions defense is also really good. 4th in DVOA, 4th in passing DVOA, 8th in rushing DVOA, and 5th in overall EPA per play. Now, their weakness is against power runs. 25th in power success rate allowed and 18th in stuffing percentage. So basically, short yardage, money downs. Rushing money downs, they're not that great. So the Packers need to rely on a heavy creative run game that uses a lot of downhill-based schemes. Power, gap, inside zone duo. Basically, the Malik Willis package. The Malik Willis package, I think, will give the best chance for the Packers to win offensively speaking, because not only does it help the Packers offense by grading the Lions defense down, especially without Aiden Hutchinson, more importantly, it keeps the Lions offense off the field and
that's
off
the best
the board.
defense.
And that is the best defense. The best defense is a great offense. And using the Malik Willis package of run plays, of play calling, has to be number one priority for for Matt LaFleur, and it might come that way because guess who else is questionable? Josh Myers, our starting center, and Jordan Love.
I would not be surprised if they roll Jordan Love out of this game.
Exactly, which means it might be the heavy run game with Malik Willis.
Yep.
I honestly think that gives, and Josh Jacobs is questionable. Our leading running back. He's also
what?
Yeah. So,
injuries are coming at a bad time, man.
I know. So, but the thing is, the week after this is our bye week. So what some Packers fans have been saying is just rest everybody. Just rest them. Don't get them more injured for the bye week. If we take a loss, we take a loss. That's fine. We can always go down and win it. But I don't like that mentality. I think we should go for the win. If our medical team says these guys are ready to go, they're ready to go. Right?
Fair enough.
Have them play. So I think the game will come down, not offensively or defensively, but on the special teams, as it naturally does for Packers. It is a catastrophe in the making. The Lions are first in overall DVOA for special teams, and the Packers are 26th. And this is worse. The number one punt return team faces the 28th ranked punt coverage team in the Packers in DVOA. Khalif Raymond will have a touchdown this game. It is a beat the dome moment. It's not a beat the dome moment. It is guaranteed. It's a crystal ball moment. I am looking into the future and I'm saying Khalif Raymond will have a punt return or kick return touchdown this game because the Packers special teams is that inconsistent.
Okay.
So
I can imagine that.
Yeah.
But I will say this. If the Packers can manage to 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, run it or push it.
Nah. With Malik Willis, we'll probably do a QB option with like a speed option or an RPO.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we might be able to push because we might be out of Evan Williams, Jair Alexander, Jordan Love, Josh Myers, and Josh Jacobs. So with that being said, if all of these injured players cannot make the field, we will lose. And I'm projecting us to lose 31-20. Yeah.
All right. And with that being said, the Eagles have faced off against the Packers' recent opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And this is actually going to be a Kelly Green jersey. Yep, the Eagles are bringing back their old classic jerseys.
So do we. We have our 50s classic jersey, the one that I'm wearing right now.
Unfortunately, I'm not wearing Kelly Green, but I'm repping my guy Jalen Hurts. But it's, I mean, as it is, I'm not gonna take this game lightly. This could be a possible trap game. What the Jaguars were able to do against the Packers, that's why I'm keeping this game. That this has to be a dominant victory for the Eagles.
Yeah.
And looking at the Jaguars, I think what they did well. I mean, like, yes, they have one of the worst passing defenses. Bottom.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's garbage. And I mean, but even with that, Jalen Hurts, I think the best key for Jalen Hurts, he has to have another consistent run game, like what he did with the Bengals. Like when they run the ball more often, and yes, this is shocking, but the Jaguars in DVOA, they're 11th in with defensive rushing. So, I mean, with their interior, they could but going up against an Eagles offensive line that has done well in opening up the gaps for Saquon Barkley to bulldoze people, that's going to be a key matchup. And I think if I'm the Eagles, try and use Saquon a little bit more. Like try to explore. Don't pass immediately. I know you want to get those one-on-one matchups, and AJ Brown over Tyson Campbell. Who are you taking every day? But I mean, in general, if you AJ Brown, hands big time, and it's going to be the biggest matchup for Tyson Campbell. And I mean, and then but hey, guess what? Andre Sisco has to watch out for Devontae Smith, who had himself a good game, and maybe this could. And I think like even with, and I honestly want to say like, especially with the Eagles' offensive line, you're already down with 2 starting linemen, and yes, we heard that Dallas Goedert's going to be out for this game. So no surprise, we're going to rest him up front for Dallas week because we need him healthy. So Grant Calcaterra has been doing pretty damn well, especially in that pass protection. But I would still keep an eye on Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines Allen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the way they were able to attack the edges against that Packers team, especially in the second half, correct?
Mm.
So I think if I'm the Eagles, you definitely want to go with. I definitely want to see a little bit more like 1 or like 11 personnel. Maybe go one. Maybe use Calcaterra more. Attack the middle of the field. Yes, Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma are very good and are okay in coverage, but they're not that excellent. I would trust to attack the middle of the field, and this could be a game which we could see more under center. We could see more pre-snap motion. And yes, give me a Jahan Dotson game. I want to see Jahan Dotson get more targets in this game. And maybe because if he does, and the Eagles are able to attack the middle of the field, what the hell do the Bears have? What the hell do the Jags have in defense?
Mm-hmm.
Where are they going to line up? And I think this is going to be where Kellen Moore can get Ryan Nielsen fired from his job. Honestly, I can imagine this. But one big key is going to be how Fred Johnson handles himself against Trayvon Walker. Because Trayvon Walker is very good at generating pass rushes. And Fred Johnson, he's allowed plenty of pressures, but he did allow 0 against Trey Hendrickson. But this could be there could be a possibility that, hey, they could switch. Josh Hines Allen can come over up against Fred Johnson. That's a mismatch over there. So do you provide a tight end block, or do you have a screen? Do you have a wheel route ready? Jalen Hurts has to protect the ball, and yes, you may want to pass, but I would say go with the death by 1,000 paper cuts route. Mm-hmm. And any weakness on the Jags thing that we should know about on the defensive side.
Well, if you have a good offensive line, then you don't need to be worried.
Fair enough. And I think, and with this being said, and of course, I don't want the offense just like, yes, score in the first. Please score it on the first drive if you can, but you have to keep on running. You cannot get too cocky. You just need to you have to pile up points. This is a game that, based on like how the Jags were able to nearly come back and win this game, you cannot do that. The Eagles are known for having slow starts. You cannot pull off this shit again.
Yeah.
You just cannot. You're riding a 3-game. And I mean, like, yes, the Eagles are 6 in EPA per play, but please score and be careful. Now, defensive side against Trevor Lawrence. First things first, they're going to be without Christian Kirk. And from what I've currently understand, they're going to be without I thought I just saw the updated injury report. Give me one. Oh my goodness. How am I blanking on this one? I know there's like Jags. I know they're like, okay. So with this being said, the Jaguars are going to be without offensive lineman Ezra Cleveland. They're without Christian Kirk and defensive tackle Mason Smith. The ones that are questionable right now are Tanks Bigsby, Gabe Davis, Travis Etienne, Brandon Sheriff, Brian Thomas Jr., Keelan Robinson, and so if that's being the case, you're going to be without Christian Kirk and Brian Thomas Jr., Parker Washington, and Gabe Davis. So, but then again, the Giants have known oh my goodness, I'm getting confused. The Jags we can expect the Jags to go 12 personnel a lot more on this field. And this could be a game in which Doug Peterson focuses heavily on the run, especially with Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
And again, with Brian Thomas Jr., you know who I'm going to put him on lockdown with. Quinyon Mitchell. I want to see that matchup. And yes, there's an update. Darius Slay is going to be out for this game. But we just heard that Jalen Carter is dealing with a shoulder thing, but he'll be ready for this game. So I think this is, and I think like if Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas Jr., I think those are going to be the two big targets. Gabe Davis and Tank Bigsby. I mean, a couple of games he's carried the ball 85 times, 493 yards, 5.2 yards after contact per carry. He's a very physical runner. This is where you need the linebackers in the Kobe Dean and Zach Bond come plug the gaps and attack. And another key matchup I could see happen is Parker Washington, who was very good at special teams. He's going to get his first start of the season. He's going to go up against Cooper DeJean, most likely in that slot nickel position. And I think that'll be a fun matchup to see. But I would not be surprised if the Eagles try and bring in like a third, probably bring in Keely Ringo. But then again, Evan Ingram, they may go with that two tight end set, Evan Ingram and the other tight end that you mentioned. But I mean, like, I'm just highlighting all worst case scenarios for the Eagles, which is a good thing because like you gotta keep tabs on this. But they do have some injuries. Brandon Sheriff and Ezra Cleveland are pretty banged up. According to Next Gen Stats, when Trevor Lawrence is not pressured, he's able to throw it in 2.54 seconds. Under pressure, 3.13. So you need Jalen Carter and maybe Jordan Davis to come in. I'm happy to see that the Eagles pass rush is getting hit, but they have to attack early and early because per attempt, without pressure, Trevor Lawrence is averaging 8.5 air yards per attempt. Under pressure, it's 11.6. If Jalen Carter is able to get and attack those guards, we could see a Quinyon Mitchell pick. We could literally see one, but I still think like, honest. I mean, if there was like a weak opponent, again, you have to build up that pass rush, and I would say how Vic Fangio was able to mix up with the blitzes. We could see I want to see a little bit more Nakobe Dean. Maybe we could see some issues with Jeremiah Trotter Jr. I would like to see some snaps from him. And Bryce Huff, I don't know where the hell he is, but he better generate some shit. That's for sure. And I mean, Joshua's been okay, but Brandon Graham's having a resurgence of the careers. But I think honestly, knowing how this game can go, it could go either way. I say the Eagles will win this one 31-27. Jags will fight it out for sure. It is going to be nitty gritty, but if the Eagles can find a way to dominate, especially on a Kelly Green, I'll be looking really happy. But I don't think so because I think Trevor Lawrence is going to try. I mean, Doug Peterson is coaching for his career at the moment. Yeah. And anything else you would like to add?
Yeah. Make sure your pass rush actually works because this is a team that has to be pressured. If Trevor Lawrence is not pressured, and if Brian Thomas Jr. is left, unscathed, they will find a way to win.
Yeah, I would not be surprised by that. Maybe I might say this: if he needs help, maybe you put a safety on him, but you also need to have a safety ready in case because Evan Ingram. Yes, he may have difficulty with hands, but when he catches, he's pretty damn effective. And
in the red zone, he was very effective against the Packers in the red zone,
which is what really concerns me because when the Eagles stuck in that zone defense, especially on third down, Mike Gesicki was tore the Eagles open, and that's what my concern is. Do they put in? I think you cannot put Avonte Maddox on him. Leave him off the field. You put in Keely Ringo. You put on Isaiah Rodgers. You need to have physical corners play up against the line. Hell, if you need to have Zach Bond mirror or Nakobe Dean, who's been okay with with coverage as a coverage linebacker, do so, but bring that safety help as well. Vic Fangio needs to have a good game in this one. And offensive wise, don't turn over the ball, keep that run game going, and that's all I can say.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, I'm worried. And by the way, I'm not going to be able to watch this game because I'm going to be on the flight back home.
Yeah.
What do I do?
You hope and pray.
Yep.
Alrighty, so that's going to be it for our games. Now let's finish off with the Masala games of the week. For me, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to go with the Ravens versus the Broncos. I think this is a very exciting, underrated matchup because I want to see one matchup and one matchup only, and that's the Ravens. Well, actually, two matchups, but it's the Ravens rushing offense versus the Broncos rushing defense, who's pretty good. Their pass defense is much better, but their rush defense is pretty good. So I think for the Ravens, if they need to win it from an offensive side standpoint, they need to give King Henry more than 25 carries and keep Lamar Jackson away from throwing the football, because this Broncos defense is the new no-fly zone. They're top 5 in most pass defense categories, but they're only 10th in terms of defensive rush EPA per rush and 15th in success rate. So how easy is it to move the ball against them, right? Whereas the Ravens have the 4th highest rush EPA score, EPA per rush, basically. So not only have the Ravens do the Ravens have one of the best rushing offenses, they're also going up against a mid-tier rush defense in the Broncos. So if the Ravens have to win, they have to force more than like 25 carries for King Henry and maybe like 12 dedicated runs for Lamar. Just keep the ball on the ground, almost have like 60 to 70% rushing offense, barely throw the football, because you are not going to be very successful against this Broncos defense. Now, another thing that you have to keep in mind, this Broncos, they have one of the best pass rushing defenses in the entire league. I believe they're like top 5 or top 2 in terms of pass rush, and like top 5 in blitz rate as well. They're one of the highest blitzing teams, and they rush the passer a lot. Now, funnily enough, Lamar Jackson's one of the best, if the best quarterback. He has the highest passer rating against the blitz so far this season. So if the Broncos do blitz him, I think, you know, the Ravens are going to have some success with the play action or RPO style offense. But I think they should definitely stick to the run game consistently. Make sure that you don't leak any pressures or sacks potentially onto Lamar, and just make sure that you run the football. And one of the main reasons why I say force it more to Derrick Henry is because the Ravens have the second highest power success rate in terms of just running the football downhill, right? And the Broncos defense is 22nd in that metric. So this is literally a matchup that's squarely on the advantage for the Ravens. Now, defensively speaking, this is one matchup that I also want to see. This Broncos pass offense in the last 3 weeks is 10th in points per game. 25.7 points per game last 3 weeks, and 22nd in EPA per dropback. Bo Nix has actually done a very admirable job as a rookie QB with not a lot of weapons, a really good offensive line, a really good pass blocking offensive line, but not a lot of weapons. So let me actually bring up the EPA per play metric for Bo Nix so far. If we look at the last 3 weeks, Basically 6 through 8, right? 6 through 9. Let's do that. That would make whoops. Sorry, 6 through 8.
Oh wow! I gotta say this. We have a little bit of breaking the Makedar news, although it's like 12 hours ago.
Yeah.
According to Bleacher Report, it'll be quick. This was by Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Joseph provided an update Friday on Trayvon Diggs because there's been a development with Trayvon Diggs. He has a tear in his calf.
Ugh.
And apparently, like, he's saying that and there's a possibility that he although he says like he feels good despite that calf injury, although it says like he feels good or there may be tightness or a tear, he's considered questionable against the Falcons. Just wanted to share that.
Okay.
It is going to be huge because that secondary is depleted.
Yeah. Alrighty. Yeah, so Bo Nix, going back for the past 3 weeks, is 20th in the league in terms of EPA per play and the composite rating. And if we look at the adjusted EPA per play, he's 17th. So he's slightly under Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is at 0.2 adjusted EPA per play. Bo Nix is at 0.17. And he has also scored, I believe, like 5 or 6 touchdowns, but only one incompletion or one interception in the past couple of games. So as of late, Bo Nix has been playing well, and he's been making the plays that are necessary for the team to move on and win. And he is now facing a very, very favorable matchup in the Ravens pass defense, which is one of the worst in the league, 28th in EPA per dropback, 26th in success rate. So the Broncos, I would love to see Bo Nix throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, make it like a solid victory for the Ravens. But I just don't think he will get the opportunity to do so because the Ravens are just going to run the football down his throat and win 17-13. That's it for me.
I could literally see this being a close game, and this is what the Ravens really excel. But if Sean Payton can pull off something and Bo Nix actually has a game of his life, then I could see that because the Ravens defense has prone to play down to their competition.
Yeah.
See Cleveland Browns game.
Yeah.
Now, this one, I had a very interesting take on this one. I could have gone Cowboys and Falcons and continued the curse, but I'm going with a different option. The Vikings versus the Colts.
Oh.
Who would have thought if you were supposed to see J.J. McCarthy versus Anthony Richardson, but now we have the greatest matchup ever in God's green earth. Sam Darnold versus Joe Flacco. Greatest game ever by urinating.
Yep.
We could actually see competent offenses, but this is a Vikings team that has lost twice in a row, and surprisingly, their defense has not had a sack.
Yeah.
So, how do we talk about this? Joe Flacco, welcome back, by the way. He's going to be facing a defense that is 7th in yards per play allowed and allowing 20 points or fewer and blitzes heavily. You want to take a look at Danger Man. Look no further in linebacker Andrew Van Ginkel. He's had 5 sacks and 2 pick sixes so far this season. And according to PFF, their defensive ends have dropped into coverage 140 times. Did you know that their defensive backs have blitzed 60 times, second to Tampa Bay?
Yeah.
And it's not just like heavy blitz offense. They are entering week 9, allowing 3.9 yards per rushing attempt, which is the 3rd lowest in the NFL. Only 13 carries have gone for 10 plus yards. So I think this is the biggest matchup. If I'm the Colts and you want to save Joe Flacco and instead of turning to Anthony Richardson because he could get too tired easily, No offense, but he has no offense. You got to run the ball with Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor, by the way, he's averaged 4.9 yards per attempt, and he's had 15 carries of 10 yards or more. In his return against the Texans, he had like he had a buck. He nearly had like over 100 rushing yards and a touchdown, I believe. But I think that is going to be the big key, because this Vikings defense is porous. I mean, they have been. I don't know how to say this. I mean, like they're still third in the league with sacks per game, though. But after having 2 games on that sack, you know they're going to be hunting down. You know that Brian Flores is going to. I think it kind of reminds me of this one play from NFL Blitz 2000. If you know what I'm referring to, there's this play called suicide, meaning you bring everyone to line and you crash.
Yeah.
You just go last minute.
Yeah.
But I can imagine, I can see that. So you have to get that run game going, and of course, hot routes. Michael Pittman Jr. and Alex Pierce may have big games. Maybe Josh Downs will get some targets too. But Adonai Mitchell use 2 hands to catch the ball. And but then again, we could see a game in which, and it's also known that Bernard Raymond, Colts left tackle, he's going to be out for this game. So we could see a rookie coming in, and Vikings, they're thinking pigeon. We found our pigeon right there. That pigeon meaning that weak spot that Brian Flores is going to attack. And maybe I think they could easily send in like Jerry Tillery or even Jonathan Bullard, because like either way they'll just keep they will be relentless, I tell you. And I think like and with the and yes, run game is going to be the biggest key, and pre-snap communication. If they're able to do that, the Colts will definitely put some points on the board. Now we got to look at the other way. Colts defense against the Vikings offense. It's going to be very, very interesting, because Sam Darnold, he's had himself a resurgence, I would say. And if other than that ref ball, we would have seen if he would have attempted to at least try. Most likely not. But I think like the biggest key is, how the hell do you stop Justin Jefferson? I'm going to ask you a question on that. Do you
Alexander?
Do you A, double coverage? Do you go B, single man? Or do you C, pray to God that Justin Jefferson drops the ball?
Pray to God.
I think that would be your best.
Alexander.
Because honestly, I'm looking at their defense. You're going with Julian Blackmon, Kenny Moore, Jalen Jones, and Nick Cross. And Samuel Womack III. Luckily, I just checked the injury report for the Colts. They're going to be getting back DeForest Buckner. And I think Kwity Paye, I believe. Yeah. DeForest Buckner is going to come back for this game, which I think he will be heavily needed, because the Vikings, because this Colts defense has allowed only 4.5 yards per carry through 8 games. Vikings are averaging 7.9 yards per pass, 7 points scored per game. So this could be the game as like, hey, if you want to win this properly, attack that Colts defense with Aaron Jones. I mean, you saw how Joe Mixon was able to run through that Colts defense. This is where you got to use Aaron Jones in this case. And also big news. Remember with Cam Robinson being acquired just in time? That's going to be the Colts will definitely be getting DeForest Buckner and EJ Speed back from injuries. But also the Vikings are going to be getting most likely TJ Hawkinson back. So this will definitely open up the playbook for Kevin O'Connell. We could definitely see a lot more of some tight. Hey, goal personal, the left personal. That's what's going to probably happen. Jordan Addison. We could see some hot routes with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, but I honestly think Justin Jefferson's going to have like another 100-yard game because I don't know this Colts secondary if they can hold off against this Vikings pass attack.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep it brief. I think the Vikings win this game 30-17. They get back on the winning track. 30-17 Vikings. Joe Flacco will do good, but
yeah,
he's going to get destroyed.
I could clearly see that. Alrighty. Well, that's going to be it for us today. Long episode. I believe we cracked 3 hours on this episode.
3 hours.
Well, that's going to be it for us today. If you guys have enjoyed, please leave us a review at one of the 4 podcast platforms that we host our podcasts on: Apple, Google, Spotify, and Pocket Cast, or send us an email at nflmasala@gmail.com, spelled as NFL MASALA@gmail.com, or Rakshak.
You can also find us on YouTube. That is NFL Masala itself. So make sure you like, share, subscribe. And also, we are on Twitter/X and Instagram at the actual handle, all lowercase, at NFL MASALA2022. That is at NFL MASALA2022.
And we'll hit you with our signature outro. Go Pack, go.
And fly, Eagles, fly. Take care and have a good night.